What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is the part 7 of a story where Issei was trained by the dragon gods and became the true dragon god of chaos. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations. Also, this is a translate version. You may find some mistakes, specifically in the character's gender. Issei of course is a male, Valley also is a male. Welp, with that out, let's get into part 7. Issei and his girls appeared at the Gremory mansion, making him sigh when he saw this place again. At least he didn't want to see it or step on it for a few years. Don't worry, Issei-sama, we are with you, the magician said, thinking that her lover was thinking about what was going to happen. Yes, don't worry Naya, we will be by your side supporting him. This time the Nakomata said calmly, although she knew that things could get ugly and she wasn't saying it for her beloved but for them. The only thing I hope is that everything goes well and it doesn't end the way I'm thinking, the brunette commented, a little tired and hoping that this doesn't end in a problem. The brunette with his girls entered the mansion, being welcomed and guided by the maids of the place until he took them to a large door. He knew that behind this door there were many problems, but taking a serious attitude again, he entered the room hoping to be able to fix this problem once and for all. When he entered, the first thing he saw was RIAS, who was in front of a large sofa. Next to her were her parents, and behind the sofa was the entire Gremory group. Even Kunu was there with them. On one side of the sofa is Surzek and next to him is Grafia, who was looking at them carefully and thinking about what could happen after this talk. On the other side, to the surprise of the brunette, Lord and Lady Phoenix sat calmly, not even daring to look at the brunette. The brunette walked straight and sat in the center of the sofa where Lefay and Ravel sat on his sides while Ophis sat on his laps. Next to Ravel Elmenhild sat and next to Lefay Kuroka, the other girls sat. They stayed behind the couch watching how everything was going to develop. However, RIAS and the Gremoris girls, seeing how Ophis hugged the brunette by the neck while the magician and the blonde Phoenix in her arms, could not help but feel great jealousy. At that moment, she wanted to shout at them and get all those bitches away from her Issei, but she was stopped by their parents. The room remained completely silent, no one said anything, although on Issei's side it was to see how much the Gremory could endure that silence. On the part of the Gremoris family, they did not know how to start, seeing that no one was going to start Surzek all the word to start this massacre since he thought that was how it was going to end. Hayudu-kun, my family is placing you here because we want to tell you something, the red-haired Mao said, drawing the attention of the brunette and his girls. We want to apologize for everything. It was the only thing he could say to the Mao since, like his parents, he felt too guilty for everything that has happened. The brunette stared at the Mao and then looked at everyone in the room. He left quickly and realized that no one was looking him in the eyes, only the Mao Surzek. Well, Surzek, I forgive you, said the brunette. After all, he already told him everything he had to say at the meeting and resentment will only do more harm than good. However, when the brunette said that, none of his girls were surprised, although some were clenching their fists tightly as in the case of Kuroka, Ophis and Ravel. However, the brunette spoke again when he saw how RIAS and her group put on a big smile and decided to clarify everything to get out of this once and for all. Forgive me, Surzek, because after what you did, you looked me in the eyes when I accepted it and apologized. However, I don't see any of you who want to look me in the eyes. When the brunette said those words, he destroyed all the illusions that the girls had. Now I would like to ask a question that ever since I knew everything I wanted to know the answer, the brunette said, drawing the attention of RIAS and her parents. Why? It was the only and simple question that the brunette said, leaving RIAS and her family blank. The second minutes passed, but they still couldn't answer that question, so the brunette decided to be a little more serious about this topic so that at least they would give him that answer he has to know. Lord and Lady Gremory, I treated you like my family after seeing how you treated me and welcomed me. I wanted to repay you for the affection and love you gave me in addition to the great support you were for me. However, I would really like to know everything I did was not enough for you, the brunette said seriously, demanding an answer. However, those mentioned only lowered their gaze while Lady Gremory began to look while crying when she knew the big mistake she had made in her life. She had lost the person she had loved. And he considers himself a son only because of his stupidity and his impatience to see his daughter home, knowing that they still had too much time for that. On Lord Gremory's part, he was clenching his fists tightly as he could not answer the person he considered as a son for whom he had earned his love and affection, and all because of his stupidity. He really regretted the big mistake he had made. The brunette, despite having said that, did not receive a response either, so he looked at RIAS again seriously, and despite having a look down, she could feel the brunette's gaze on her. RIAS, I want you to look at me, said the brunette, but the redhead didn't do anything, almost making the brunette start to get angry when he saw this situation. His girls were also the same, but they calmed down because she needed to stop her lover and she was losing the havoc since the topic was very important and delicate and the brunette had so many doubts that no one was clarifying. "Look at me," the brunette shouted, already angry, making the redhead look at him quickly again although she couldn't keep her gaze fixed and took it off at every moment. "I want you to tell me that you, RIAS, Aquino, Asia," listening to it, even Graphia, who was not involved in the subject, was not saved from that feeling. But despite everything, none of them could answer him. Asia, Kaneko and Kunu were crying while Aquino, RIAS and Zenobia were barely holding back their tears. "RIAS," the brunette called the redhead but this time extremely calmly with a soft voice making her able to see him again. "Back then, when I barely knew about the supernatural world, I faced a high-class devil that easily surpassed my strength, however I sacrificed my arm for you," said the brunette calmly. "And not only that, Kokobile, Loki, and everything I have faced has been for you to take care of you and protect you. I gave my life for you but now I would like to know all that was not suffering for you," asked the brunette making the redhead can't take it anymore and starts crying inconsolably. "And everything I did for you is not enough for you," said the brunette looking at the Gremory group who looked down and cried even more than before. "I broke my back every damn day of my life so that you would always be safe and the only thing I asked was for you to love me, something that at that time was not difficult since they always told me so, but it was that love so little that in just 3 or 4 years they forgot everything I did for you," said the brunette in a serious manner. "We thought they were dead and you wouldn't come back," Aquino tried to justify herself before the words of the man she loves. "Then you thought wrong, I have died twice. I literally remember it for you and I always came back to you since you were waiting for me," the brunette commented, ensuring that the black-haired Gremory couldn't say anything. "What was the difference from that time to this time?" asked the brunette with great interest. "That this time I was going to face an extremely powerful being, making the chances of survival about 5%, Zenobia responded with great courage. "Just like when they injected me with Samuel's poison, my chances were like 10% of surviving, but I did it and I came back to you." That comment totally silenced Zenobia, who didn't know what else to say. The room fell silent again. The brunette was already getting tired of that silence and even though the Gremorys had called him, they didn't say anything. "Now I want to know why they called me here and I want to know it now," said the brunette, already tired of not progressing in the conversation. "Please forgive us," the redhead finally said while crying, causing some girls in the group to see her that way and become very angry because of how shameless she was, since she always lived happily forgetting about the person who owed her a lot while they always waited for their loved one and no matter how much time passed they never lost faith that he would return, not like a certain group who continued their lives as if he had never existed. "Well, RIAS, I forgive you, I forgive all of you," the brunette said calmly. All of them looked at him with red eyes from crying and a look of disbelief. "Now that this is resolved, I'm leaving," the brunette said as if nothing had happened, wanting to leave that place that although it didn't affect him, it was irritating him a little. "Then you will return to us," a happy Aquino said upon hearing that she forgives them. 11. "I promise you that this time we will not fail you, Issei-san," said the ex-nun with a big smile. "So what do you think if we open the future?" said Lord Gremory when he saw that the situation did not turn out as bad as he expected. "Issei-kun, you will be a great father for being so kind," Lady Gremory said happily when she saw that everything had been settled. "My Issei," was the only thing the redhead said, wanting to go hug the brunette. However, she had barely taken a step when she was forced to sit down abruptly again. Everyone looked at this and saw Issei again but they were surprised that it was not Issei but the dragon who had her hand raised as a sign that she was the one who took her away from Issei. "Why did you do that?" RIAS asked, very angry and excited for not being able to hug her Issei after so long. "If you think I'm going to let you get close to him like that, you're very wrong," the dragon said seriously. "So that they didn't understand something," the brunette said, drawing the attention of those present except for his girls. "I forgive you because I don't want there to be any hard feelings between us, but nevertheless I will never return to you again," said the brown man seriously, causing everyone to break the only hope they had. "First, I am not going to return to you because I no longer belong to you, my place is here with them with the people I love," the brunette said, seeing Aquino who felt like his entire world was broken into 1,000 pieces. "Second, you will never fail me again because I am no longer with you, who you should not fail is your man, as in the case of Dethelm, you have to tell him, since he is your boyfriend, the man you chose and decided. Love instead of me," the brunette said, making the blonde burst into tears while her heart was completely shattered by the brunette's words. "Thirdly, we can talk about the future Lord Gremory since from today we can have a business relationship since it is the only thing they will have of my business and nothing else. I don't care about anything more than that," said the brunette making Lord Gremory go down. He shook his head and closed his eyes while clenching his fists tightly in frustration at seeing that their mistakes no longer had a solution and now they only had to live with them. Fourth, I am flattered by Lady Gremory since I really want to form a family with these girls. I love them even more than my own life and I hope to always be with them to be able to see our children grow up and teach them the same goodness that you speak, said the brunette, making the matriarch of the Gremory clan unable to take it anymore and also burst into tears for having lost the brunette only because of his mistakes that would haunt them forever. The fifth and last thing, I am not your Issei RIAS Gremory. I stopped being something of yours from the moment you forgot me and decided to move on with your life. Now I am one of them, said the brunette referring to the girls who there were people around him who smiled when they heard that and felt happy to be with their beloved brunette. So what did I want you to do, to wait forever? RIAS asked, her heart and soul completely destroyed by what she had just heard from the brunette. That was the least you could have done after everything I did for you, everything I sacrificed for you. The brunette answered seriously as he looked the redhead straight into her eyes. How are we going to know you were going to come back? The redhead began to scream when she couldn't control her emotions. How we were going to continue without knowing anything about you, Akino shouted, standing next to her friend, unable to hold on any longer. The same way we did it, Elmenhild shouted very angrily this time for having lost the little patience she had. Waiting for him day and night, I trust that he was going to come back no matter what, Ravel shouted, already very upset by the stupidities she was hearing. And if he didn't return, we were going to lose all that time, Zenobia shouted, taking out everything she had in her chest. Then they don't have the right to be with him when they could not even wait for some 10 miserable years, Kuroka shouted angrily as she remembered how they all suffered waiting for their loved one, but they did it with pride and never regretted it. None of them, however. Girls in front of them didn't even care about their loved one and went with someone else. But after all this time we still love him and he loves us, RIAS shouted even without resigning herself and without wanting to see the true reality. 11. How can you say that from everything you have done? Even Tsubaki, who is a calm person, lost his calm and patience upon hearing that. They forgot about him, they left with other man, mainly you laugh, you are already married. Tsubaki said again with clear anger. You have no voice here, Akino shouted when she saw Queen Citri saying. I have every right to be here and say what I want because I am here not as the Queen of Sona but as one of the couples of the man you abandoned, Tsubaki shouted, already losing patience with their stupidity and immaturity. That wedding was a mistake, Surzek said with great heaviness and regret for having allowed that wedding. Now you say it but you were happy to accept that commitment after Issei-chan fought with all her heart to break it, the pigtailed Mao who was on the brunette side said seriously. I never was, Surzek was going to shout but was interrupted by the pigtailed Mao. I don't want you to deny that, even though I love you very much and I'm your friend, I'm not going to allow you to deny that when we all could see it in person at RIAS-chan's wedding, Serafal shouted angrily at her friend who couldn't say nothing while she brought out a bit of her aura. We really didn't want that, Lord Gremory said with great regret. How can you say that if you were laughing at your daughter's wedding, saying how happy they were, Yasaka shouted, getting into the conversation with clear anger while letting out a little of her power. Just like your daughter you forgot about Isseinya. After everything he did for you Nya you forgot him as if you had never loved him, Kuroka shouted, losing her patience and just like the previous ones, she began to expel a little of her aura. Note, this shit is heating up and I'm the one writing this. That is not true, we love Issei-kun as if he was our son and I won't allow you to say otherwise, Venelana shouted with great anger as she let out her power of destruction. Then they forgot him and let the one who was once the love of their life to marry another man other than him, Yasaka said again, increasing his aura even more. We did not want that to happen, Surzek shouted with regret, letting out his aura. Then because they allowed it, they just sit happily when seeing how their daughter forgot the one you call a son and married another one, screamed Serafal, also letting out her aura at the same level as Surzeka's. And don't say again that you love him because it's not true, if you loved him you would wait for it as long as it was necessary, Ravel shouted, moving forward when she saw how RIAS was going to say something while she also increased her aura. Despite not being so powerful she was not going to be left behind with any of them after all she always trained to be at the side of her loved one. In the room things were becoming more and more tense, all the girls in the brunette began to bring out their auras, even Ophis who was really angry with the redhead for saying so many nonsense. On Ria's side they also brought out their auras, even Surzek with Lord and Lady Gremory brought out their auras. Everything was seen by Lord and Lady Phoenix with concern thinking that a battle could break out and they could not worry about their daughter because they saw that if it happened she was going to go with everything and with anyone without caring what as long as she was with her loved one. They reproached themselves again for making that mistake, although they were a little happy that they had not gone that far, but they could not feel happy since they knew that the mistake was solely due to their ambitions. The other people who saw this were a graphic that didn't say anything since she preferred not to comment on that topic. And the last person was the brunette who had remained silent all this time since the screaming started. The brunette let out a tired sigh, straightened up a little and put on a serious expression, as seen by Lord and Lady Phoenix, thinking that things were going to get even more serious than before. Enough, Issei said, letting out a large part of his power, leaving the entire room in complete silence due to that powerful aura they felt, making them feel that his authority was absolute. Even Ophis could not disobey those words that were like an order, not only for her but for everyone. Immediately the entire room fell into complete silence, but this time the tension was gone and only that powerful aura remained that was authoritarian, making it impossible for anyone to disobey it. Everyone returned to their places after hearing the brunette say those words. For Issei's part, she sat back down on the couch, making Ophis immediately sit back down on her legs and hug her chest. For her, that was the best place in the world. On the other hand, Issei caressed Ophis's head. Since I knew she liked it when I did it. Ophis smiled calmly, forgetting everything that had just happened to settle in better and let herself be pampered by her lover. After several minutes the room was still in complete silence. No one dared to say anything, although on the part of the girls in Issei they only sought the attention of their loved one so that they could also be consented, having only one mind, Ravel and La Fei, who were excited the closest to him other than Ophis. This scene made RIAS and her group very jealous, making them want to say something, but Issei's aura was still active, making it impossible for anyone to say anything, and the brunette had left it like that so everyone could calm down. However, after another few minutes it stopped expelling its aura, but still no one said anything. Now that everyone has been able to express their frustrations, it is time to put an end to this conversation and finish this conversation, said the brunette, drawing everyone's attention. Lord and Lady Gremory, for the respect I have for you and what you did for my previous mind, I want you to know that I do not hold any grudge against any of you, so I hope to at least have a friendly relationship, said the brunette, making them mention were surprised by that, but they also understood the meaning of those words, making the mistake they made never go away. It's okay was the only thing Xeoticus Gremory could say after hearing the brunette's words, since he wasn't asking, he was confirming, and if he didn't accept he felt like he was going to make another big mistake in his life. The brunette nodded, satisfied to hear Patriarch Gremory confirm what he said. Now he turned to Surzek. As for you, we are going to see each other very often since I am going to be in close contact with the factions, so I hope we can have a good relationship, the brunette said, making the red-haired Mao unable to feel depressed. Since what the brunette meant was that he only wanted a friendship relationship since he did not want to have a family relationship like before. I hope we get along well, it was the only thing he could say since as before he was not asked. The brunette nodded again and saw the Gremory group that still remained silent. However, when they felt the brunette's gaze they all tensed since seeing those eyes made them nervous. Zenobia once told me that you wanted to have babies with me, but now I see that they were just words. I can already see that your aura is combined with that of another man. I imagine that it belongs to your boyfriend Lou, so now you have nothing to do looking for me anymore. Now you have a relationship for I don't know how long, and if you changed me for him, he must be a worthwhile man. So with the greatest sincerity and honesty, I wish you to be very happy with the person you chose to love and spend the rest of your life by her side, the brunette said seriously and honestly, making Zenobia feel like complete garbage. Now it was definitive that she had lost the person who had stolen her heart. Kaneko, Kunu, you are definitely two of the three people that all of you, I don't know why you are here, when you should be with the person you chose as your husband, that person you fell in love with and decided to marry, so I hope you stop being behind behaving like two girls, since they are not, each one has responsibilities and has to act as they should. You decided to get married for that same reason. I did not intervene that time when you got married and I only approached and wished you the best for your life, so you better forget me and make a family with the person you considered worthy of each of you, said the brunette seriously, making it impossible for the yukais not to cry while they regret that decision. The brunette saw Yasaka and Kuroka had a sad look when they saw their sister/daughter like that, but he saw that neither of them were going to do or say anything, making the brunette sigh. He knew how to fix that, but first he needed to end all this once and for all time, so this time he looked at Aquino again, who shivered feeling the brunette's gaze. Aquino, I always thought that you were one of the people who would always be with me no matter what happened, since after all I was the only person who had passed that mask that you use and hide who you really are, a girl, pretty, tender, sincere, shy, happy, but it seems that at the end of the day it was not what I thought was true, said the brunette looking intently at Aquino, who immediately looked down while tears came out of her eyes. She wanted to say something but no words came out from his mouth. It seems that someone else passed that mask and saw your true self, making you fall deeply in love with that person. Now I just hope that you are happy with your fiancé, Zaston. I realize that the wedding is very close. I hope to be able to attend to wish you my congratulations. To both of them, the brunette said seriously, making Akino not be able to stand it anymore, and she ran out of the room while she cried inconsolably when she heard those words that hurt her a lot. While the brunette did not look at her when she left alone, she closed her eyes until Who came out and then opened them and saw Asia, who was still crying for everything she had heard. Asia, you are the person who never expected this. I always thought that you were going to be by my side, and I felt very happy about that, to be able to be with you since I always had a great time with you. However, things sometimes don't they come out the way you want, right? Said the brunette, making the former nun cry even more when she heard those words. It seems that you were never really happy by my side, right? At least now you are an angel, something that you always dreamed of, and you have an angel that now protects you. I hope now that you can be truly happy with the person you decided to love and wanted. Let him be by your side, the brunette said seriously. Asia did not stop crying. Each word was like a dagger to her heart, making it hurt more and more. Finally, the brunette stared at RIAS, who had not even started to speak when she was already crying uncontrollably. My Issei, forgive me, I swear I love you, I promise not to fail you again, my pretty Issei, the redhead said desperately, wanting to go and hug the brunette who was simply looking at her seriously. First of all, and I hope you understand it once and for all, I am not your Issei, and I hope that is very clear to you, the brunette said seriously, a little irritated to hear the redhead say my as if it were only hers. Besides, you don't have the slightest right to tell me like that after everything I did for you just to make you forget me, as if I were nothing to marry the person you hated. If I was wise that things were going to end like this, that damn wedding was not intervened, the brunette said angrily, making the redhead not stop crying. I broke my body, my soul, for your sake, I fought for you, and I survived for you, and I endured all that chain of disasters that was unleashed only for you, and so that you could end the first one where all this started, said Issei seriously, tired of all this. Now you have made the decision to forget about me, you have made the decision to get married, and you decided to continue your life without me. It is time for you to continue your life without me and stay with the person you decided to spend the rest of your life by your side, he said, the brunette making the redhead who couldn't stop crying. No, Issei, please don't leave me, please, I beg you, don't leave me, my Issei, I love you so much, please, RIAS was saying desperately, but the brunette interrupted her. Enough laughter, the brunette shouted, already very tired of the redhead's attitude. That's enough, I'm done with us, understand, you got married, you are married, stop behaving like a girl who throws a tantrum, you are already a woman, so behave like one and grow up, the brunette said, making the redhead feel like everything. Her world was collapsing because of those words. She had lost him, that was the thought the redhead had while she was comforted by her parents, while her brother only had his head bowed with his eyes closed. The room remained silent. The brunette had already finished once and for all that conversation that he wanted to end so much, and now he could be calm with the people he loves. Ne-sama, Kaneko said with a voice of regret as she cried. I always told you, right, Chiron, I even tried everything I could to make you wait and reconsider that decision you made, but despite everything you ignored me and continued with that stupid decision, Kuroka said seriously but with a touch of sadness in her voice. I will always love you, you were my sister, you are part of my family, but even though it hurts me a lot, you have to face the consequences of your own decision, Kuroka said sadly as she saw how her beloved sister was breaking more and more every moment. Okasan, Kunu said with the same voice of regret while crying. I was always warning you, my little girl, I always tried to get you to reflect on that decision, unfortunately you never listened to me and ignored me. Now, like any other woman, you have to face the consequences of your actions, my little girl, you are my daughter, I will always love you and you will always have my full support, but this time you have to accept the consequences of the actions and decisions you have made, the kitsune said in an extremely sad way. It broke her heart to see her daughter in that state since Kunu was crying inconsolably. The brunette saw this and gave a sigh because he didn't like seeing the two of them that way, and unfortunately there was only one way to fix it. Issei got up from the couch, leaving office where she was under the attention of everyone except the two Yukai girls who couldn't stop crying. He walked until he was in front of them, who had not yet realized it, and to everyone's surprise, he hugged the two Yukais. When they felt the hug, they opened their eyes wide open when they saw who it was. However, they immediately broke down again, crying, but this time even harder as they hugged the brunette tightly as if they wanted to never let him go. They stayed like that for a few long minutes where the brunette only hugged them and tried to comfort them, causing after several minutes the two Yukais were much calmer, although they still had small tears in their eyes. The brunette separated from them, releasing the hug, causing them to also release it even though they didn't want to, but he stayed looking at the two Yukais. Kunu, Kaneko, the brunette said, making the men look him in the eyes again. However, the previous time he did not have that cold and serious look, now he had a calm and warm look. Each of you has made the decision that you think is best for each of you. You made the decision to marry Yasuko because you love him, whether you forgot me or not. You fell in love with him, that's why you decided to get married, the brunette said calmly, while he put a finger on Kunu's lips that he wanted to say something so that he wouldn't talk and that he would allow him to continue. As women who are, they have to accept the benefits and consequences of their decisions, as is the case in this case where you decided to marry him, making the benefits of having a man love you just as you are, and despite everything that has happened. Lastly, he never left you and tried to be the best husband for you, said the brunette, making the two yukais look down since they knew they were hurting Yasuko, who was always worried about them. The entire room was silent while listening to what the brunette said to the two yukais, although a certain Nakomata and Kitsune were the ones who paid the most attention to them. Unfortunately, I don't feel what you feel about me, said the brunette, making the girls' hearts begin to hurt. But that doesn't mean that I don't love them. When the brunette said that, the two yukais looked at him intently, and not only them, everyone present too, even his girls looked at him more and more strange that he was digesting that, but they didn't say anything. To know how far all this was going to go. I have the desire to marry all these beautiful ladies, said the brunette, pointing to his girls who looked at him with a big smile for hearing those words, although the Gremory group felt their hearts breaking even more. That means that I also want to marry Yasaka and Kuroka to do the impossible and make them extremely happy along with everyone else, the brunette said again, making one of the two mentioned unable to help but shed a small tear upon hearing him say that while their hearts jumped with joy. But they know what happens if I marry them, the brunette asked, making the yukais shake their heads. If I marry Kuroka I will become your brother, Kaneko, and as your brother it is impossible not to love you. Together with your sister we will always take care of you and protect you because for her as well as for you you are someone extremely important, said the brunette with a smile, making the Kaneko surprised by that and opened her eyes that were red from crying. I can't love you like you love me, but I can love you in another way, Kaneko. You are the most important person for Kuroka. She will always love you no matter what happens, and I, as her husband, will also love you in the same way. She loves you, we will always be there for you, said the brunette while he caressed Kaneko's head, who had tears in her eyes, showing signs of wanting to cry again because of what she heard. I know that your parents died when you were very young and you have always been alone with your sister and they have not had a difficult life, but Kuroka is always there to say, I know that at the same time as a maternal father figure, so what do you think? If you allow me to be your father figure, I promise that I will never fail you and I will always be there for you, and I also promise to take good care of Kuroka since she is the most important person for you, said the brunette with a sincere smile as he continued caressing Kuroka. Kaneko, who couldn't take it anymore and hugged the brunette tightly while crying. Issei always let him vent while Kuroka had a strong lump in her throat when she heard what the brunette said. At that moment she felt like the happiest woman in the world. She couldn't ask for more and she didn't want to ask for more alone. She mentally wanted to be with her loved one, to have a quiet life with him while they had their kittens, that was all. She didn't want luxuries or anything like that. The only thing she asked for was a home where she could call home to live a quiet life with the person she loved. Thank you, the Nakomata whispered, watching as the brunette continued hugging his sister who had fallen asleep after explaining everything that had happened that day. Kunu, do you know what happens if I marry Yasaka? The brunette said, now looking at the younger Kitsune again, but she simply denied it while continuing to cry. If I marry Yasaka I would become your father Kunu, and as your father how could I not love my pretty and beautiful daughter, said the brunette with a smile full of love, but that was not the same feeling of love that Kunu had felt before. If it wasn't a love that made her feel warm, protected, loved and, above all, it had filled that void that she had always felt in her heart, the one that she had always wanted to fill but never managed to do because only a specific feeling could fill it, the brotherly love that he was feeling at that moment was coming immediately. Something deep inside Kunu had broken and that was where she had kept and locked up all those feelings of having a father. At that moment she felt sadness, pain, abandonment, loneliness, but when all those feelings began to invade her she felt that someone. She caressed her head and looked up to see that it was the brunette who was giving her a smile full of brotherly love. She felt as if her dad was really caressing her head. Immediately, tears began to run from her beautiful eyes, making all those feelings that she felt disappear, had flourished in it. At that moment, totally unconscious, he approached the brunette little by little with great fear, as if he felt that the brunette was going to leave his side. He reached up to him and held his arm, which he left behind, and looked into his eyes only to saying something that left everyone surprised and leaving Yasaka completely frozen as she felt the great importance and feeling that those words had. Really, you will be my dad, Kunu said with a delicate mind like a little thing was about to break, but in each of the words he said they were loaded full of desperation and longing, as if at that moment they did not see a girl of about 25 years old but rather a girl of about 8 years old asking for what she most longed for and desired in the world. The girls in Issei were crying when they heard the little kitsune's voice as if at any moment it was going to break, making their hearts hurt a lot, but the one who was most affected by those words was Yasaka, who was crying uncontrollably when she saw that side of her. Her daughter, whom she had never seen, a huge pain formed in her chest when she saw her most precious treasure in that state. The brunette gave him a smile full of love again as if he were a father smiling at his daughter. "Of course, my little one, and I promise that I will never leave you," said the brunette and then hugged her and made little Kunu break down, but unlike the last time, this cry was like that of a girl who was finally able to fulfill her dream. "I really want to hug my dad." It didn't last long when she also fell asleep in the brunette's arms, causing him to pick her up along with Kaneko and start walking to where she was previously with the two pregnant girls. He walked calmly trying not to wake them. "We're not going," was the only thing the brunette said to create a magic circle a few steps from where he was while his girls began to go to the circle to go with their loved one since this day had been very difficult for all of them. The Phoenix family wanted to stop him as they wanted to talk to him about what had happened previously with their daughter. "I know you want to talk, however this is neither the best time nor the best place to do it. As soon as I can, I will pay you a visit to clarify the issue that we have pending." It was the only thing the brunette said before continuing walking while the girls they entered the circle, and when they entered they disappeared. "I hope everything is clear there," the brunette said to the Gremories, stopping at the front of the circle with Kuroka and Yasaka. "As I said before when we danced at your wedding, RIAS," the brunette said, drawing the attention of the redhead who was totally destroyed. "This dance represented the last one for us. Goodbye, RIAS, I hope you are very happy," the brunette said to enter the circle with the two yukais at his sides to leave. RIAS saw that while her heart stopped when she saw how the brunette said those words to begin to disappear little by little, she still did not want to leave him. She did not accept that she had lost him. She immediately ran away with tears in her eyes to where he was. There was the circle, but when it arrived it disappeared along with Issei and the two yukais. No, Issei, please don't leave me, Issei, the redhead screamed when she saw that she had lost the love of her life, while she cried in the place where the brunette had gone. Human world, Hyudu Mansion. The brunette appears next to the two yukais in the living room of his house where all his girls had settled down. "It would be better if you take them to their rooms, they are too tired, with a good night they will be better," said the brunette, giving Kunu to Yasaka and Kaneko to Kuroka, who took them with a smile while they retired to their rooms to leave their daughter. "Sister, rest. Issei-kun would like to ask you something," Tsubaki said calmly. "I imagine it's because of Kaneko and Kunu, right?" said the brunette to receive a settlement from the black-haired girl. The brunette took a spot that was empty on the couch where Ophis immediately sat back down on his laps. Elmenhild and Seraphal, who were on the sides, approached and lay down next to him, enjoying the relaxing and calm presence that their beloved gave off. "Well, I imagine that's what you want to ask me, so I'll answer you once and for all," said the brunette to caress the heads of the girls who were lying next to him. "Forgive Kaneko and Kunu completely because they don't really love me." When the brunette said that, everyone looked at him strangely because of that detail, except for the three girls who were getting lost in the caresses of their beloved, and they have already seen it themselves. All the love they feel for him, they have even cried for him. First Kaneko, she has never really loved me as a man but as a father figure, as I said before. At the beginning when I met Kaneko you could say that she hated me, because I did perverted things, but even when I didn't do anything perverted she still hated me, and it was like that for a while until something happened and she changed, said the brunette, counting, making all the girls stare at him with great interest since that is something they don't know. In the meeting of the young demons, at that time Kuroka appeared for the first time after a long time with the intention of taking Kaneko, but in that meeting I faced Kuroka, beating her at that moment, but from that moment on I alone did not beat her. If not, he had begun to be interested in me by showing such power, the brunette continued calmly. At that moment Kaneko said that she hated her sister, but it wasn't true, she couldn't hate her, she was just resentful and scared of what happened before, but she adored her sister too much, causing her instincts to activate, and she saw me differently. A different way than before, having caught her sister's attention, and from that moment on she always took care of me and kept away all the girls who approached me until her sister appeared, when she said that all the girls were surprised except Ophis, who had she slept on Issei's chest, and even more so when he caressed her, wanting her to relax so much that she fell asleep. Kaneko never loved me as a man if she did not love me for possibly being her father figure. When she saw that her sister had interest in me, unfortunately she had not realized it because she never trained her Nakomata powers, making her ignorant of that. Issei continued with that story. "I see, that's why she acted that way," Ravel said, remembering the way she behaved at that time. The desire to keep everyone away from her beloved always seemed excessive to her. "That's right, back then Kaneko would push away all the girls around me as much as she could, be it RIAS, Akino, or Asia, just with the goal of her sister claiming him, but both Kaneko and I confused that with love for, even now since we never stopped to think or feel that feeling well since it was like a habit for us, explained the brunette when Kuroka and Yasaka were arriving. But she always pushed me away Naya when you were with her, she even kept me away from you Naya, said the Nakomata, interested in that topic. That is not entirely true. I say she kept you away from me when I was with her, it is because she wanted time with the person she considered her father figure. When she kept you away from me it was because I was previously with another girl making her scent is in me, she kept you away so that you wouldn't detect that smell and leave, plus she always took care when we were alone Kuroka. If you remember correctly it was always you and I, they never interrupted us, of course the brown one making. Kuroka opened her eyes in surprise having never noticed that. Something similar happened to Kunu since, by not having her father figure, she unconsciously locked up all those feelings that hurt her. She found her father figure in me when she rescued Yasaka from that attack since a father has to protect his family. For that same reason Kunu was so attached to me because she saw me as her father, it is also the reason why Kunu was never interested in kissing me on the lips and always wanted me to be with her, said the brunette, surprising everyone again, even to Yasaka who had a sad look upon knowing a side of her daughter that she had never known. Don't worry, Yasa-chan, I will give Kunu the love of a father that she never received, and you the love of a husband that you never received, said the brunette with a smile, making the kitsune unable to help but shed tears because of that. She felt extremely happy. If only Lame is the right man this time, and the best of all is that he is the best man in the world. Well, what do you think if I prepare something for you to eat and we go to sleep, said Issei to receive a very strong yes since they loved their lover's food, for some reason they liked his food more than theirs. Issei woke Ofus up and went to prepare dinner so that after sharing a family moment they went to sleep. The next morning Kaneko and Kunu were amazed by the beautiful house where their sister/mother lived, but despite that, they spent the entire morning completely glued to Issei, although sometimes they acted very sad about everything that had happened. Kaneko had a very long talk with Kuroka about what she felt and about her instincts. At the end of this talk Kaneko decided to check if it was true but that would take time. She accepted the whole conversation since she loved Issei but she also loved her husband. So I thought that maybe that love is not love for a partner but another type of love. Kunu was not spared from the long talk she had with her mother, but this was easier since having released those feelings, she made clear the love she felt for her now father, as she happily called him. That day the brunette spent it with the two yukais, one to clarify what he really felt and the other because he did not want to separate himself from his father, although in the case of Kaneko he knew that this was only the beginning and he would need time to clarify that. But the brunette knew that everything was going to turn out well. In the afternoon of that day, the brunette was preparing to go to heaven where he was going to pay a visit to a certain seraphim, although the pigtailed Mao did not agree, even though they were now friends, there was always that rivalry between them. However, a kiss, a caress and a promise of a date calmed him down and made the pigtailed Mao very happy, who happily said goodbye with a big smile for that kiss he gave her full of passion and love, although she was a little excited for the caresses that her loved one gave her. The brunette said goodbye to everyone with a kiss and a hug except for the two yukais who gave Kiryu a kiss on the forehead and a kiss on the cheek that made her heart race when he kissed her. He grabbed Irina's hand and the two disappeared. Heaven, first heaven, gates of heaven. Issei appeared in the sky where Miguel was waiting for them at the entrance. I'm glad to see you both, the leader of the sky said with a calm smile making the two approach him. I hope you haven't had problems with my arrival, Miguel, said the brunette, making him shake his head. On the contrary, even though you are a dragon, you are like a hero for all of heaven. Many of our youngest angels admire you and the oldest ones respect you. You will always look up to heaven since we have no way of repaying you for what you did for us, commented the leader of heaven with a bitter smile when remembering all the events that happened 10 years ago. After that little talk, Miguel guided them through the sky, receiving the looks of everyone, mainly Issei since the entire sky was aware of his return and although it was not like Asgard that they wanted to rape him here, they respected and admired him a lot. Issei was holding hands with his beloved girlfriend who had a huge smile on her face as she loved spending time with her lover. It's good to see Issei-kun again, a voice was heard behind the brunette, causing him to turn around to meet Dolio and Griselda who were going in his direction. Note, no, Griselda is not in the harem. Why? There are simply too many girls and there is no time to do scenes with them since I still have about 5 more girls that I have to integrate. Oh Dolio, Griselda, how are you? The brunette was saying but he was interrupted when Griselda got very close to him and grabbed him by the neck. You dare to do something to my lady, I swear it will be the last thing you do, said the Queen of Hearts seriously. She thought that the brunette was going to be afraid like in the past or he was going to back away or something. However, she was surprised to see that he was looking at her seriously. You can rest assured, because I'm not going to hurt her or anything like that if that's what you were thinking, since the only thing I want is to see that beautiful smile she has, and I will do everything possible so that she continues to have that same smile," he said. The brunette was serious even without having looked away from the Queen of Hearts, who was also looking at him seriously. Then she let out a sigh and let go of the brunette's neck and walked away from him to stand next to Dulio, who had a somewhat tense smile while a drop of sweat ran down his head when he saw his partner's behavior. "Stop, you have matured, now I feel calm leaving my lady in your hands, since I know she will be in good hands," Griselda said again with a calm smile on her face, making the brunette give her the same smile. "I imagine they are going to where Gabriel-sama is," Dulio said calmly, making Miguel nod to confirm them. "I hope you don't mind if we accompany you," he said again, so that the brunette shook his head and started moving again. During the way they were talking many things, but the brunette asked something that left everyone a little tense. "Miguel, you have already announced what was discussed at the meeting." The atmosphere immediately became serious just by mentioning those words. "If I just arrived yesterday and immediately announced what happened, from that very moment all the troops are beginning to prepare now, most of them have even begun to train more seriously to be able to help in the battle, since they still feel guilty that in the battle against the Trihexa they did almost nothing since they were not at that level," the leader of the sky said seriously, making both Irina, Dulio, and Griselda put on a serious expression. "I would like to ask you now what is going to happen with Irina. Is she going to be in your battalion or will you leave her in mine?" the brunette said, making Miguel look at him. "Since I saw her at the meeting and everything that has happened between you, I have decided that it would be better to leave her in your care. Furthermore, at first glance I can say that she has not wasted any time since she has improved spontaneously," Miguel commented, making Irina sit up, embarrassed by the compliment. "Don't worry, I'm going to take care of her very well, although in a moment I'm going to tell her to help your battle when she sees it necessary," said the brunette, making Miguel give him a smile of gratitude. After all, she was one of the people strongest he has. Issei kissed the brunette as an act of love, making her blush because she was in front of her lord, but she still did not deny that act after everything they have been through. If her lover kisses her in front of everyone, the great cloaks, she would still be happy to receive that kiss since now she has the person she loves with all her heart. She was not going to let him go for anything. That caused Miguel to give them a smile. On the part of the duo of exorcists, Dulio only smiled to see that kiss. On the part of Griselda, she did not say anything despite that act, since she could see the love that was in that kiss, a love that it was pure, great, without traces of lust or anything else, just pure love, making it true that perhaps the brunette was the only person who deserved to be with his lady. The group continues walking with Miguel guiding them until they reached sixth heaven, to a building where Gabriel was supposed to live along with the other seraphim. Upon arrival they could see the other two great seraphim, Raphael and Uriel, waiting for them at the entrance. "It's good to see you among us again, Hayudukuin," Uriel said with a calm smile as he greeted him, causing the brunette to return his greeting. "I really must say that thank you for saving us back then. I am very grateful for saving not only me but my family as well," Raphael said sincerely while bowing to show respect for the one who gave his life to save to everyone without asking for anything in return. Neither Uriel nor Miguel stopped him, since they did not feel that it was not right, since after all he saved their lives without any hidden intention, only out of the desire that it was right. Dulio, Griselda and Irina were surprised since they never thought that would happen, an angel thanking him and bowing next to a dragon. That irony was the world. Although Irina did not think much about it, since soon it can be said that that same dragon is completely in love with the strongest and most beautiful angel in heaven. "Please don't bow down to me. Back then I did it because I could do it and because it was the right thing to do, so you don't have to say anything," the brunette said with a calm smile, making the seraph harden and just tell him that thank you. "Well, if you'll excuse me, but I think someone has been waiting for me for a long time," the brunette said with a smile, making the two seraphs run, and he left with Miguel, now leaving Dulio and Griselda behind, next to Irina. Before giving her a big kiss, leaving the brunette seeing stars with a big smile for receiving those kisses so full of love that she likes so much, and that with every moment she becomes more addictive to them. Miguel guided the brunette to a room, however it was closed. "Gabriel, I need you to come out," the leader of heaven called his sister but received no response. "Gabriel, you're there, I need to talk to you," he called again but still didn't receive a response. "He's probably sleeping," said the brunette, making Miguel agree with him. "If you allow me," the brunette said to touch the doorknob, and after a small purple glow came out of his hand and then a click was heard, indicating that the door had opened. "I know it's not correct, but I would like to surprise Gabriel," the brunette said hurriedly when he saw that Miguel was going to say something. He only nodded and said no more to give the brunette a smile and leave the place, since he knew that both the brunette and his sister needed a moment alone. Issei slowly entered the room once Miguel left. When he entered he could see that it was a really very pretty room, rather feminine. It was full of stuffed animals that when the brunette saw them he couldn't help but let out a little giggle knowing how adorable the seraph would look surrounded by that pile of stuffed animals. He continued walking to find that beautiful woman lying on a beautiful white bed with pink touches. However, the brunette frowned when he saw there was a large trail of tears in her eyes indicating that she has been crying a lot and it seemed like she was having a nightmare, since it was moving a lot. Her heart began to hurt when she saw how bad she was to make a woman as pure and beautiful as she is suffer. Little by little he approached her until he lay down next to her, very carefully so as not to wake her. He carefully hugged her, drawing her towards him, as if he were protecting her. As he began to hum a light melody, making the seraph calm down a little for some reason, he moved closer to her and began to whisper in the seraph's ear. "You don't have to worry anymore, my beautiful seraphim, now I am here to take care of you and protect you," Brown whispered in the seraph's ear, and upon hearing those words, a tear ran down her cheeks even though she was sleeping. "You don't have to cry anymore either, since I just want to see that beautiful smile that just by seeing it makes me the happiest man in the world," the brunette whispered, making the seraph listen to everything even though she was still sleeping. "I know I left you alone but no more, I'm here next to you and I'm not going to leave." At that moment the seraph who had tears in her eyes felt someone hug her making her for some reason cling to that person, who had his arms around her and transmitted to her that feeling that she desperately longed for. "So sleep since I am here taking care of you while you sleep, my beautiful and beautiful angel," he finished whispering to the brunette when he saw how the seraph was now very clinging to him in his embrace, sleeping in a way that he had not done in years, while that a small and beautiful smile formed on his face. The brunette smiled as he let the seraph sleep peacefully while clinging to him. "Sleep my beautiful angel, when you wake up I will be here to tell you that I love you," said the brunette as he kissed the seraph on the forehead, making her smile even more as she felt that kiss that was full of love. In heaven, more specifically, in the sixth heaven, the most beautiful angel in heaven was found while he was sleeping in his room in a way that he had not done for years because of the nightmares and the thought he had over and over again of having lost the person she had fallen in love with. But this time it was different since now she was in the arms of that man that she missed and longed for so much. However, she had not realized since she was in a deep sleep while she unconsciously hugged him with a beautiful smile. That would make any angel fall because of how beautiful she looked. Issei had stayed up all night while taking care of his beautiful angel. Throughout the night he spent admiring how beautiful she looked while she slept, although at first he was surprised that she hugged him in a very possessive way, although for him it was rather as if a girl embraced what she longed for would never leave her side. Throughout the night the brunette was caressing her hair while he watched with a smile as the seraph only made herself more and more comfortable next to him as if she wanted him not to stop. At that moment we can see the most beautiful angel in heaven who was waking up with a big smile on her face who for some reason had slept very well. However, at that moment she realized that she was hugging someone and that person was also hugging her. But for some strange reason, instead of getting upset and opening her eyes, she clung tightly to that person without knowing who he was since she could feel that feeling that she had not felt in 10 long years. That feeling that came from the person from whom he had stolen his heart for his bravery, determination, his big heart and his love of protecting his loved ones even at the cost of his life. That feeling that she felt at that moment is the same one that she felt when she was close to her beloved Issei. For that reason she clung more and more to that feeling with the desire that it never go away again. On the part of the brunette, he could see how the seraph was waking up, but instead of opening her eyes she simply clung harder to him, making him hug her even harder, bringing her even closer to him to make her understand that he was there, and he wasn't going to leave. "Issei," the seraph whispered to herself as she felt the same way when the brunette hugged her, or how little he did since at that time she did not know how to behave with him. She loved him and that was something that she did not know. He could deny, however, he did not know how to express it. Her father had taught her to love all living beings. However, the love she felt was very different from what her father had taught her. It was a feeling where she only wanted to be with that person who makes her heart beat, who without him his life had no color, it no longer meant the same. The brunette could hear the seraph's whisper making him unable to have a bitter smile knowing that he had made another beautiful girl suffer. His heart hurt, but despite that bitter pain he promised to always be by her side, to take care of her, and protect her while giving her all the love she deserved. "I'm here for you, I'll never leave again," Issei whispered in the seraph's ear, which immediately made her heart race after so long. However, she was surprised by those words and immediately opened her beautiful eyes only to meet the person who was the cause of her sadness, but also the cause of her happiness, the person who made her heart beat with a simple smile or a simple look. In front of her was the person she had dreamed of so many times, wished for, even prayed to be able to see him again, even just one more time. Tears immediately began to run down her cheeks as she stared at the person in front of her, at the person who had her in his arms. With great fear she raised her hand, bringing it little by little to his face. The brunette who saw that gave her a sincere smile that made the seraph's heart begin to beat desperately, while the brunette took her beautiful hand and put it on his cheek. Gabriel couldn't stand it anymore when he saw that it really was him, it really was the person who had stolen his heart and not an illusion, nor another person, it really was him, his skin, his warmth, his gaze, his smile really was him. Without thinking twice, she threw herself into a tight hug while crying desperately and clinging to him tightly as if she were wishing or begging him not to leave. The brunette simply stayed there and hugged the seraph tightly, bringing her even closer to him to let her vent about all these years of pain that he had made her feel. There were no words, only a big hug on the part of the two, letting themselves be carried away by their hearts. Gabriel cried uncontrollably on Issei's chest, while he alone hugged her and supported her so that she could unburden herself of everything she had stored in her. His heart, while he also cried when he saw all the pain, suffering, and loneliness that he had made him feel. They stayed that way for a long time. Gabriel had already stopped crying, although he still had a few tears running down his cheeks while he was still hugging the brunette tightly with his head buried in his chest, while the brunette held her. He continued hugging, even without saying any words. "Forgive me," the brunette said in a whisper, but the seraph could hear him perfectly. However, she didn't say anything, making the brunette sad when he didn't receive any response. "Forgive me for leaving like this, forgive me for leaving you alone all this time, forgive me for not being with you all this time, and above all forgive me for making those beautiful eyes shed tears for someone like me," said the brunette to the seraph who was still hugging him tightly. Mind with her head on Issei's chest, making it impossible for him to see her. In the room everything became silent, no one said anything. The brunette wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say since it could complicate things more, so he hoped that the seraph would digest something, but she never said anything and simply hugged the man. Issei's strong mind with intentions not to let go. "I was afraid," the seraph said, breaking the silence, but the brunette who listened to her realized that he sounded like he was about to cry again. "I was afraid of never seeing you again," the seraph said again as she hugged the brunette tighter, making him realize. "I felt alone even though the other girls were there to help each other. That feeling of loneliness and sadness that I had for not having you, for not being able to see you, never went away," said the seraph with a clear voice that said she was crying. The brunette's heart hurt every time he heard her, but he still didn't say anything since he knew he had to let her vent. "As time passed, with each day that passed and I saw that you did not return, fear began to invade me more and more. Even though I tried to think about other things, the fear of never seeing you again became greater and greater," the seraph said, separating herself a little from the brunette to look him in the eyes, making him feel how his heart hurt more and more. Since in front of him was the most beautiful angel in all of heaven crying with a look that expressed great sadness, pain, but mainly fear. "Please don't leave again, I couldn't stand it. I couldn't anymore," the seraph begged as she cried, making the brunette feel like a complete idiot knowing that because of him he had made this beautiful girl suffer. "Women." He immediately brought her closer to him, causing the seraph to immediately hug him tightly. I promise you that I will never separate myself from you again, I will always be by your side," said the brunette, making the seraph handcuff a beautiful smile upon hearing those words that she had always wanted to hear from the person she loves. They both separated a little and stared into each other's eyes, getting lost in the other's gaze. Gabriel was lost when he saw those beautiful colors in the eyes of the person he loved. In one case it was a look that reflected tranquility, while in the other was a beautiful purple that reflected great strength, making him lose himself in them without realizing that he was slowly getting closer to Issei. Issei, on the other hand, was lost in those beautiful eyes that reflected great purity, but also one that reflected immense love, making his heart beat rapidly, causing him to also begin to approach Gabriel. However, when they were there, each one's lips lightly touched each other's voices and they realized what they were going to do. Gabriel felt his heart beating hard when he had the brunette so close to her, but even more so when he had her lips slightly together with his, making him blush hard. However, she did not want to separate from the brunette, she wanted to always be by his side, to be happy with him, and with those thoughts Gabriel, the strongest and most beautiful angel in heaven, gave his first kiss to the person who had stolen his heart. But not only did she give her first kiss, since in that kiss she gave all her love, her heart and her soul to the person she had fallen in love with. Issei, for his part, was extremely surprised since at this moment he was kissing the most beautiful woman in heaven. Even though he knew that she was in love with him, he did not think that she would kiss him that way. However, he did not know. He denied but continued the kiss because even though it was a kiss that was a little clumsy on her side, he still didn't care because he could feel that she was giving him all her love, her heart, even her soul, promising that I was going to care for them and treasure them for all eternity. Note, if Azazel knew this, he would die of jealousy knowing that Issei had Gabriel's first kiss, although it will not be the only thing he has of her. The kiss was slow and calm, both enjoyed the sensation that the other's lips produced, they both hugged, Issei holding Gabriel by the waist, while Gabriel wrapped his arms around Issei's neck, but after a few minutes the instincts Issei began to leave, making Gabriel lie down on the bed again since they were sitting on it. When the brunette put the seraph to bed again, she did not refuse and simply continued with her kiss since she did not want to separate herself from her lover's lips. Issei began to caress Gabriel's body little by little, her waist, her back and mainly her legs since she was wearing a small dress that left her legs uncovered since she used it to sleep. Gabriel felt the brunette's caresses, making him unconsciously release small moans, but still without stopping kissing the brunette and letting him do whatever he wanted with her. Note, as she said previously in one of my first part, Gabriel is going to be innocent but she is not so much aware of certain things as of the issue that is going to happen here. The brunette began to slowly raise his hands up the seraph's soft and long legs, still kissing her, his hands slid under the small dress towards the seraph's most intimate place, who still did not put up resistance and simply he kept letting out little moans. Meanwhile inside the boosted Greer Drag was watching this with his eyes wide open and his jaw on the ground. Never in his wildest dreams did he think he would live to see this day, the day when the most beautiful and coveted angel throughout the world it was going to be given body and soul to a man, mainly that one of its bearers would be the one who would accomplish such an achievement that would go down in history. Returning to our partner, Issei slowly moved up the soft and slender thighs of the seraph, who shuddered when he felt the caresses. Until he reached the most intimate part of the woman, the one that no one in this world had ever reached, the brunette ran his hand lightly through the intimacy of the seraph, causing her to straighten her back while she let out a light moan from that caress that made her his whole body shook. Issei separated from her to create several magic circles to place seals throughout the room. He had not realized what seals he had placed since his instincts were dominating him and he barely had the sanity to put those seals, but also for his fortune. Among those seals was that of silencing the room and the one that allows an angel not to fall. Once that was done, the brunette kissed the seraph again, and she did not refuse or resist. Meanwhile, Issei returned to caressing the seraph's entire body, who did not stop letting out light moans. She had never experienced that, she had not even had the slightest interest in doing something like that, but for some reason at that moment she did not want the brunette to stop. It was a new sensation and she wanted to experience it with the only person her heart accepted and loved. The brunette ran his hands over the seraph's breasts, making her let out light moans while she blushed when she saw that the brunette caressed and played with her breast, but even so, despite her embarrassment, she did nothing to stop him, rather she separated a little bit of the brunette and then take off that little dress, letting the brunette see her naked body completely since she wasn't even wearing underwear. With a smile the brunette continued the act of love with the seraph since despite everything, he didn't care what she was like, he loved her and that was never going to change. "I love you Gabriel," the brunette said with a smile as he began caressing and pinching the seraph's nipples, who let out a great moan and pleasure. "I love you too Issei-kun with all my heart, please never leave my side," the seraph said with a tender smile while tears ran down her cheeks. "I will never leave your side again, I will always be there for you, my beautiful and beautiful Tenchi," said the brunette to give her a big kiss full of love that the seraph gladly received so that in a few minutes they would do the act of love again, letting their feelings dominate them while they expressed their love in that very intimate act. 3 days passed since the seraph gave herself body and soul to the person who had stolen her heart and was completely in love with him. The couple was in the seraph's room sleeping peacefully. Gabriel was lying on Issei's chest sleeping completely naked with a big smile on his face since not more than 3 hours ago they had finished showing their love for each other. On Issei's part, he is lying down hugging the seraph while he slept peacefully since he spent 3 days satisfying the seraph. However, he was very happy to be able to have a person who loved him so much since he knew that when Gabriel gave himself to he was because he really loved him. After sleeping peacefully and comfortably, mainly Gabriel, who slept in the arms of the man he loves, was waking up little by little, making the brunette who had woken up a little earlier caressed his beautiful blonde hair, making her feel the caresses. Seraphim would become more attached to him so that he would continue to spoil her. This caused a smile on the brunette's face when he saw that despite everything she still behaved like a girl who likes to be pampered. It reminded him a lot of Seraphal when she behaves like that to be pampered. "Good morning my sleeping beauty, how did you sleep?" the brunette said with a lot of love in his words while he continued pampering the seraph who had an extreme smile that was not at all adorable. "Good, since now you are next to me," said the seraph with a big smile as she looked into the eyes of the brunette and a tear escaped from her beautiful eyes when she saw how the brunette looked at her with so much love that she had longed for, dreamed and longed to have for the 10 longest years of his life. "Don't cry, my beautiful Tenchi, the only thing I want is to see that beautiful smile that you have," said the brunette while I wiped away her tears, making another tear run down her cheeks since she could feel all the love in those words, making her feel extreme happy mind. The brunette held her by the waist and brought her closer to him to give her a big kiss full of love, causing the seraph to roll her hands around the brunette's neck, and he hugged her by the waist to have a section of laughter and kisses since at some moments they both played like Issei man tickling the seraph. That was really something new for the seraph, that happiness, that feeling, all that was new for her, even knowing what it is. She had never experienced it, but she was calm since she can experience all those new feelings and actions with the person she loves. Some time later the couple got up and went to take a bath since the room had a personal bathroom. However, when the brunette was bathing, a certain seraph also went in to bathe with him and they ended up doing other things. After a little action in the bathroom where Gabriel was the one who asked for it since it seems that he liked what he experienced last night, they both left the room, although the brunette was wearing a white shirt since at some point in what happened previously, Gabriel had broken it with his nails that were marked all over the brunette's body since every time he had an orgasm he hugged the brunette tightly, leaving marks of his nails all over his body. Although he was not the only one since Gabriel had a red tattoo with the head of a dragon on his left chest, while he had kiss marks all over his body, although the ones that are most noticeable are the ones on his neck, although for the seraph doesn't care about that since for her those marks are the product of her love. While they walked to where the leader of heaven was since the brunette had to leave and he had to tell him that Gabriel was going to go with him. However, as they walked they earned the gaze of everyone who passed by, and of course since Gabriel had a smile that he had not had for 10 years, a smile full of happiness while he was holding the brunette's arm tightly, although that really was true. It doesn't bother him, since what he likes most is seeing her happy, seeing that beautiful smile that makes his heart beat strong. The couple continued walking until they reached the meeting room where the brunette could feel that all the seraphim and some other angels were there. Issei was going to knock, but Gabriel went ahead and opened the doors to enter while dragging Issei in a hug, but before entering Issei covered the mark since he did not know how the angels would take it when they knew what he had just done to his sister again and again, satisfying his great sexual desire. When they entered, the entire room was completely silent while everyone returned to see the couple. Although everyone was surprised by the big smile that Gabriel had, everyone knew about her feelings, but an encounter could really make her that happy. However, with a detailed look everyone could see the kiss marks on the seraph's neck, and since she was wearing her typical white clothes they could notice something red that was under her clothing, making everyone widen their eyes at the sight. Understand what happened. Griselda, who was at the meeting with Dulio and other 10-winged angel beings, ran out to hug her lady since seeing her so happy made her happy without noticing the reason for her happiness. "My lady, how are you?" Griselda said, separating from her lady with sadness for acting that way. "I feel better than ever, Griselda, you don't have to worry," the seraph said with a big smile as she hugged the brunette even more, who was sweating profusely, hoping that Griselda wouldn't notice. "Thank you for returning my lady," Issei-san smile, said the Queen of Hearts. She was very grateful. However, when the seraph hugged the brunette, the red dragon mark was exposed, causing the entire room to remain completely silent while Griselda seeing her, he froze. Then he saw his wife's neck with clear kiss marks. "Griselda, before you lose your mind, I want to tell you that I love Gabriel and I am responsible for everything that happened," the brunette said seriously. "I'm glad to hear that," said the Queen of Hearts in the same way as Issei. "Well then, if you'll excuse me," said the brunette before running off, "I feel like he's being chased by Griselda. May God protect him if she catches up with him." Meanwhile Gabriel watched this scene with a smile. "Miguel wanted to tell you that I am going to live with Issei-kun, since now that he is with me I would like to spend as much time as possible with him," said the seraph, receiving only a settlement from the leader of the sky who had had a problem all along. Smile on his face. Gabriel left the room happily while he was going to prepare his things to be able to leave with his beloved. The seraphim in the room saw again that Miguel was still in the same place as before with the same smile as before, until he let out a resigned sigh. It was one thing to know that his sister was in love with the brunette and he with her. He had already accepted that relationship, but the brunette claiming his sister as his was something he couldn't allow, so he decided to continue with the meeting before joining to Griselda in the hunt for the Security Human World, Hyudu Mansion. The brunette appeared with a smiling Gabriel in front of his house, a little tired since he was able to escape Griselda's fury, and the smile that Miguel was giving him did not give him a good feeling. The seraph marveled when she saw the place where they had arrived since it was a large, very beautiful island with a large mansion. The brunette who saw this couldn't help but giggle when he saw the seraph that way since she looked very pretty. "Come, let's go inside," said the brunette to extend his hand. Gabriel, who saw this, extended his hand to his beloveds to be guided by him. "Girls, I'm here," said the brunette, who is immediately tackled by Serafal, Ravel, and Irina. "Welcome," the three said in unison as they hugged their beloved tightly, making him give them each a kiss, making the three of them show a big smile. "It's good to see that you're back," said Ophis, who was arriving at the room with the other girls and a couple that the brunette recognized, but before he said anything, Ophis saw the mark on the left breast of the seraph, who was seeing the house, marveling at how beautiful it is, mainly a painting that was on an entire wall, since it was a four where heaven with the angels, earth with the fallen and hell with the demons appeared, but really the painting was really beautiful. "I see why you took your time," the dragon said with a cross smile as she looked at the seraph. The other girls who heard her turned to see the seraph, who had a mark on her left breast, making them surprised by that. "Maid, Gabriel can spread your wings," Yasaka asked with great curiosity if the seraph had fallen, since she was a pure angel. Gabriel, who listened to the kitsune, only nodded and took out his 6 pairs of completely white wings. That surprised everyone, knowing that his wings were still pure without any sign of impurity. They all turned to look at the brunette, who knew what they were referring to, but he only shrugged his shoulders because he didn't know that either, despite knowing that they did it with the same spell that he has in his special room and throughout the house. He thought that because it was Gabriel, that was not going to work since she has a strong connection with the system. The girls who saw that downplayed the issue. "Well, girls, Gabriel is going to live with us, I hope you get along with her," said the brunette, making everyone greet the seraph, who returned the greeting. After all, now they will live with their loved one. "Gabi-chan, if you want, you can take any room on the 2nd floor, later I will give you a tour of the house since from what I see we have visitors," the brunette said while looking at the couple who was with their loved ones. The seraph nodded, and with the help of Irina, Yasaka, Kuroka and Lufei, they helped him with his luggage, leaving the room. "We haven't been able to talk properly since I came back, but I think today we can talk properly," the brunette said while looking at the couple who was next to Ophis, Tsubaki, Elmenhild, Ravel and Aika. "And you're not planning on coming to greet me?" the brunette said with a smile as he opened his arms so that the one person in the couple ran to hug him while some tears came out of his beautiful face. When he got to where the brunette hugged him tightly while more tears ran down his cheeks, while he buried his head in the brunette's chest and let himself be covered by his arms, making him smile beautifully. "It's good to see you again, Issei-san," said the person while hugging the brunette tightly. "Likewise, I am very happy to see you again and to be able to admire the beautiful woman you have become, Ross-chan," the brunette said, hugging the now identified Valkyrie, making her blush because of what the brunette said. They both stayed like that without saying anything. It was as if they both needed that hug. The feelings they had for each other reawakened, remembering the date they had and how much fun they had, laughing and talking on Issei's part, when it was to save her without caring about his own life on the part of Rossweiser. After a few minutes of being like that for a few moments, the brunette walks away from her while caressing her head, since now she is shorter than him, although the difference is not much, making Rossweiss only close her eyes, enjoying the moment. Caress of Issei. "I imagine you are Ryu, right?" said the brunette, looking again at the husband of the person who has a place in his heart. The aforementioned nodded with a calm smile and approached the brunette, who was still caressing Rossweiss, who had gotten lost in the caress. "It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Ryu Zepar. I'm a demon from the Zepar house," Ryu said calmly as he gave him a smile and extended his hand to the brunette. The brunette was really surprised, since he thought he was going to complain or say something about what happened a few moments ago with Ross, but his pleasant surprise was to see that he did not get upset and rather greeted him properly without any type of arrogance. "Nice to meet you, Zepar-san. My name is Hayadu Issei, the current Sekyudian candidate for Dragon God," said the brunette, smiling back at him as he shook his hand, since he could see that he was a person of great principles. The brunette separated from Rossweiss and sat on a sofa where they sat. Tsubaki and Ravel sat on the sides, Ophis as always sat on their laps, Elmenhild stayed behind the sofa where she hugged the brunette by the neck, and Aika she sat next to Tsubaki with clear jealousy of not being able to be closer to her secret love, according to her, since everyone knows it. The couple sat on another couch and stayed talking about what had happened during the entire time that the brunette was away, although the talk was more between Issei and Rossweiss, since the brunette's girls were only there hugging him, enjoying the moment. Closeness with him while the aura of their loved one surrounded them and relaxed them. It really is something addictive for them. On the part of the couple, Ryu stood aside while looking at his wife with a smile that he had never seen while talking to the brunette, confirming even more that his happiness is not with him but with the person next to him. In front of her, just by looking at the brunette, she realized that he also has strong feelings for her. That really makes her happy, since it is a reciprocated love. It didn't take long when the other girls came down to join in the conversation. It really wasn't very difficult, since they were all friends of Rossweiser and knew Ryu's way of being, making it easier for them to socialize with each other. After a few hours, everyone present had lunch. Clearly they invited the couple, hoping that they accepted, since they still wanted to talk a little more. During the talks, the brunette realized that Rosweiss' husband has treated her very well. He even takes great care of her, making her internally thank him while she began to admire him. He also discovered that Ryu was not a bad guy, but rather a great man in all aspects, making him begin to earn the brunette's respect. He learned that despite being one of the Zepar house, he is not from the main family, but even so his family has treated Rosweiser very well, making him make a mental note to go visit them to thank them, since after all Rosweiss is an extremely important person for Issei. Even when he is not with her, he will always take care of her the best he can. That night the couple said goodbye to the brunette and his girls, but before leaving the brunette tells them that they are always welcome to come to his house, making them both give him a smile and disappear in a magical circle. However, when he returned to see his girls, a certain Mao with pigtails was not in a good mood. "Sarah-chan, what's going on?" the brunette asked when he saw one of his girlfriends with some anger, although for the brunette she looked very adorable since she was also pouting. "It's not fair, Issei-chan, I arrived before the bird and you haven't done it with me," the Mao said without measuring her words, making her blush for what she said. I say that. I was the first and you already spent more time with the feather face than with me, if that's what it is," said the completely red Mao, not measuring her words. The brunette only smiled and approached her, making the Mao blush even more when she saw her lover smile, since he had a mischievous smile. When he was in front of his beloved, he hugged her around the waist, making her let out a kia and then feel how her lips were claimed by her lover, making her lose herself in that pleasant sensation. It didn't take long when the brunette separated from her with a smile when he saw the Mao completely red with a silly smile, since there were two ways the brunette kissed. One of them was when he kissed passionately, making his girls want more, and the other is a simple kiss, but with all his love, making the person he kissed feel all that love, making his entire body shake as he left his mind blank and have a big blush when feeling all the love and a smile of pure satisfaction, silly, on your face. Issei fell into the ear of the Mao, who was still in the clouds. "Then what do you think if tonight we spend more time alone, just the two of us?" the brunette said with a smile, making the Mao blush deeply for hearing such a suggestion, but despite her embarrassment, she never refused. "Well, girls, how can I listen? Sarah-chan wants me to spend some time with her, so tonight I will spend with her," the brunette said, making some of them nod and others did not agree, something that the brunette could see. "I promise that tomorrow night I will make it up to you," the brunette said, making more than one of them blush and simply nod. The brunette picked up Sarah-chan like a princess, but not before she let out another kia that sounded deadly cute as she walked towards the second floor, making the Mao blush even more, knowing what was going to happen, but still so he didn't deny or say anything. "I hope you enjoy it, Seraph-sama," Tsubaki said with a smile, making the Mao blush even more. "See you in the morning, Sarah-chan," the Seraph said in a funny way. The Mao wanted to tell her something, but was silenced by a kiss from the brunette, making her a little excited. "Try not to shout too much, Naya, while you enjoy the sensation, Naya," the Nakomata said with a mischievous smile, just to see how the Mao was dying of embarrassment. The brunette smiled when he saw his girls bothering the Mao, so he better hurry up and went to his room, where he put the pigtailed Mao on his bed. "Are you ready for the best night of your life, Sarah-chan?" the brunette said, only to take off his shirt, leaving his well-formed torso, making the Mao open her eyes when she saw that body, causing the innocent mind to bite her lower lip as he rubbed his legs against each other, since his private part began to get extremely hot. The brunette took off his pants, leaving him only in his boxers and leaving the Mao unable to help but bite his lip even more, while he rubbed his legs even more when he saw that large bulge that was forming in his lover's crotch. The brunette approached the Mao little by little, making the Mao unable to avoid taking her gaze from the brunette's crotch. He took her hand and put it on his chest, making the Mao blush furiously again when she felt the sensation. Well-formed torso of her lover, and without realizing it she herself began to run her hands all over her lover's body. Seraphal couldn't take it anymore, she was too excited, so without thinking twice she started to kiss the brunette passionately while continuing to cover her body. On the part of the brunette, he began to caress the Mao's entire body while he began to take off her clothes. Little by little, since she did not put up any resistance because she was so excited. And so they began to make the act of love without knowing that that night would be the first of their best nights for the rest of their life. The other girls stayed awake a little while they were talking to Gabriel, since he told them how Griselda chases her lover all over the sky, making them all laugh about it, and after a girl's talk and some snacks, they all settled down. They went to sleep in their respective rooms. The next morning we can see a brown-haired man who was going down to the dining room to have breakfast. However, it was strange that there was nothing, only Lu Fei was preparing breakfast. "Good morning, Fei-chan," said the brunette, who gave a good morning kiss to his beloved wife, who gladly received it. "Good morning, Issei-sama," said the magician with a big smile for the kiss her beloved husband had just given her. "Where are they all?" asked the brunette as he sat down to have breakfast. Yasaka-sama, Office-sama, Elmenhild-san and Tsubaki-san went shopping with Gabriel since he did not have suitable clothes apart from the tapeworm in the sky, the magician answered, placing a plate with eggs and bacon on Issei, to which this guy grabbed his wife's waist to attract her to him and sit her on his lap, surprising the magician, but the brunette gave her a big kiss and then told her thank you for the breakfast. Kuroka-sama, Irina-chan and Ravel-chan are in the back training a little while Ika-san accompanies them. The magician informed the brunette, who only nodded since he was having breakfast quietly, while the magician continued sitting in the back, the brunette's lap, while he had him hugged by the neck. By the way, Issei-sama, how are you? Sarafal-sama, the magician asked with an innocent smile. Well, she won't wake up for a few more hours since we did it almost all night, the brunette said, making the magician blush, and the brunette giggled a little when he saw her like that since she looked very cute when she was embarrassed. How about we take a bath together, Fei-chan? The brunette said with a smile, while the magician blushed at what was said, but she did not deny and only nodded while blushing even more. That way the brunette led to his wife to the large bathroom to spend a few intimate moments with her. The days continued to pass normally, each one continued with their duties. Gabriel was going to heaven to continue with his work, however, despite the fact that everyone continued normally, none of them were under his guard and they continued training with the help of the brunette. Even Gabriel, he had brought them together since he had not been training properly for some time. During that time, the brunette felt really happy being next to the people he loves. In this way 2 months passed. During that time the brunette had gone out on dates with all his girlfriends to end with a great night, and although this was because Ravel was jealous that she was the only one who had not had her moment with him Brown, that's why he took her on a date under the light of the stars in one of the most beautiful cities in Italy to end with a night where the blonde phoenix gave herself body and soul to the person she had fallen in love with for some time now. 10 years, and now that he has it he doesn't plan to let it go for anything in the world. Also during those 2 months, the couple of Rossweiser and Ryu went very often to visit the brunette, making him really happy since he always had a great time with Rossweiss, although not only with her since he now considers Ryu as a great friend. Upon meeting him, she realized that he was a great man and a great friend, had even invited Issei along with his loved ones to his house for lunch. Currently, the brunette girls were with Rossweiss in the hot springs of their Issei mansion under the starry night, while the brunette and Ryu were in the back of the house enjoying the calm breeze of the night while they talked of trivial topics. Hey Issei, Ryu called to the brunette, who was looking at the beautiful night that had taken place. Ryu had decided to start with his plan since during all these 2 months that he had spent with the brunette and his loved ones, he realized that his beloved wife did not stop. After smiling, she expressed a calm smile of great happiness, making him more and more convinced that her place was not with him but with her, Issei, where every time he was by her side she had a big smile while she had a look of love. I would like to ask you something, the demon said seriously, making the brunette look serious since he saw that it was something very important. I would like Rossweiser to stay here with you, by your side, the demon said seriously, making the brunette open his eyes in surprise at what he had just heard. You've seen it too, right? She doesn't love me, the one she really loves is you, the demon said with a slightly sad voice, silencing the brunette since he had also realized that. When I met Rossweiser I was totally captivated by her beauty, her kindness, her goodness, and I also found her desire to save tender in her, he said again with a small smile, making the brunette also laugh at that since he remembers as she was with the 100 yen stores. In fact, he also found that cute, it was something he liked about her. I fell totally in love with her. After meeting her I felt something strange about her, as if I didn't have to be there, but I ignored it, and after a while we got married, said the demon, this time with a voice of sadness that the brunette only he stayed quiet listening to everything I had to say. You know, on our wedding night she said your name. When the demon said that, the brunette closed his eyes while his chest began to hurt when he heard that. That's when I realized that she wasn't seeing me but you, the demon continued talking with his head down. You hate her? The brunette asked, making Ryu shake his head and look at the beautiful starry sky again. No, I never hated her, I can't since she doesn't even know what she's doing. That night I couldn't continue with what we were going to be since I felt that if I continued I would harm her. I couldn't allow myself to do that. In fact, our marriage has never touched her, the demon reported, making the brunette just stay silent and listen to him. Sometime after our marriage I realized that she was suffering. After a little research I realized that it was because of the loss of her best friend. But I think we both know the truth, right? Said the demon while he looked at the brunette, who looked back at him. At that time I was in love with Rossjan, however, our relationship was always one of good friends. I never dared to tell him what I felt for fear that he would reject me, plus we were in the middle of the war, I couldn't find a moment it's appropriate to tell him, Issei commented with a calm voice, but you can hear great regret in his words. You love her? Ryu asked seriously as he looked the brunette in the eyes. Yeah, she answered seriously while she looked back at the devil. Seeing that the brunette really loved her, Ryu smiles because at least his beloved Rossweiser will be truly happy. Rossweiser has all her feelings waxed in her heart. I imagine that the loss and pain she received back then led her to wax her heart with all her feelings. Currently she can say that she loves me. I know it's lies since her true feelings were sealed in his heart. The only place I can't reach, Ryu said calmly while the brunette remained silent again while listening to his friend. Issei, I know that you can reach that place that I couldn't. I know that you can reach her heart and release her true feelings. I ask you as the man that I am that when that day comes please love her as she deserves, Ryu asked seriously making the brunette look at him. But the most important thing, take care of her, Ryu finished saying before going home without waiting for a response from the brunette since he already knew what he was going to say. While Ryu left, the brunette stayed where he was looking at the night. I promise I will take care of her, the brunette confirmed out of nowhere as he turned around to go the same way Ryu went. After that conversation, things continued normally, although the brunette noticed that Ryu began to move away from Rossweiss little by little while he got closer and closer to her, but still keeping his distance since he didn't know how he could. Ration Ross. After a while the brunette was with Ravel, Faye, and Irina having a quiet day. They had finished training and the brunette was giving them a massage, but for some reason each of them moaned every time the brunette massaged them. Girls, can you please stop making those sounds, the brunette said, trying to control himself from doing something right there with them since the moans they were letting out were turning him on a lot. Note, once again the whole house is already covered by the barrier that allows the angel not to fall. It feels very good, Issei-sama, said the completely red magician without being able to help it since her beloved husband knew where to touch to relax them, but those points were also for something else. Come on Issei-kun, don't stop, it feels very good, said Irina, really excited from the massage her beloved brunette was giving her. The girls were currently in a massage room that the brunette had created to relax his girls since he spoiled them a lot. I would say too much. The brunette, with some hesitation, began to massage two of them who were lying on a stretcher face down, completely naked. Ravel and Irina began to moan while they felt how the brunette massaged their body, relaxing them. However, what they didn't know was that their lover was starting to get more and more excited and didn't know how much he was going to contain himself. He left the two girls and went to Faye who was waiting her turn patiently face down on the bed. The brunette began to massage her, making her let out small moans, making the brunette unable to take it anymore. A long time passed in that room where only moans could be heard from three girls who were receiving the best massage of their lives. Already in the afternoon the other girls were arriving after having finished their homework, even Aika who is now the brunette's personal secretary to manage his company, although it really wasn't very difficult since she only had to see that everything was in order, and deliver the important documents to him. She moved with magic circles that Issei created enough for her, she just has to hold the paper that is the magic circle and think about the place she wants to go. The girls had all arrived together since some, not to mention most, ran into each other in other places. They were talking calmly and happily when they see three girls entering the room with robes as if they were coming from a spy. However, what intrigued them was the expression they had as they had an expression of complete satisfaction, but at the same time relaxation. Girls, why are they like this? Yasaka asked, quite interested, and when she didn't see the brunette nearby, she thought he had something to do with it. That's because Issei-sama made a massage room with him as the masseuse and I have to say that it was the best massage of my life, the magician said with a big smile making the other girls surprised by that. Oh, girls, you've arrived, welcome, how was your day? They heard a voice coming from a room in the house. When they looked again, they all blushed when they saw the brunette since he didn't have any clothes on, only white pants showing his whole body. The girls bit their lip when they saw him. He looked so damn sexy that the girls were going to eat him at any moment. Issei Naya, I want a massage like there's Naya, the Nakomata said hastily, already feeling her intimacy getting wet when she saw her loved one in that state. Of course, ma'am please come in, I'll give you a special massage, said the brunette, making the Nakomata blush furiously when she heard him say and talk like that. If in intimacy she was getting wetter and she quickly left with him. Brunette leaving all the other girls in the room not knowing what to say. It wasn't long before they began to hear the Nakomata's moans, making all the girls excited by the way she moaned so full of pleasure, and the room was only for massages, she still hadn't put silence, privacy, and seals on it. Everyone else. You know how being a teacher is very exhausting, I think I could use a massage, Ofa said to disappear and go where Issei and the Nakomata had gone. I can't say what Ofa said, the next person to say that was Tsubaki, who had already disappeared. Gabriel thought that a passage could be good and he also thought that it was just a massage and the moans were because of how good he felt. The other girls didn't waste time and also went and got their special massages, except for Aika who didn't dare to go. Already at night we can see all the girls in the room with a big smile after their massage while they spent a little time with their loved one who asked them how their day had gone. Issei-kun, Sona told me that you could go these days since she had a topic she wanted to talk to you about, Queen Citri said calmly, remembering their conversation this morning. Memory. Good morning, Sona, Queen Citri said, entering the office of her friend who had already started working earlier due to lack of sleep from thinking about a certain brown-haired man. Good morning, Tsubaki, the heiress said normally, but Queen Citri could feel a certain tiredness. However, she decided not to ask, or at least for now. The day passed normally while Queen Citri continued with her work without losing the big smile she had on her face since the day before she spent time alone with her lover, and then at night she spent a time of passion with him next to her. The other girls. Tsubaki had already lost the shame of doing it in front of the others. After all, they were all like sisters, and if that included the fact that the brunette made her forget everything around her while he made her his wife again and again, she didn't care. She enjoyed the night before so much that she couldn't hide her happiness and big smile throughout the day, making the Citri group wonder what had her so happy. But even so, no one asked anything since they could get an idea, especially Saji, who noticed the aroma of Issei in her because of her dragon senses. Although she always wears it, this time it was stronger. He decided to stay silent because he knew that if he said anything his girlfriends would kill him, as well as a Tsubaki who does not forgive anything when it comes to the brunette. When everyone left, only Sona and Tsubaki remained, as well as Office and Kuroka, who were waiting for her to leave together, but they were outside the school in a pastry shop. Tsubaki, why have you been so happy today? Did Issei-kun do something to make you like this? Sona asked innocently, since due to her tiredness she couldn't think why. When Tsubaki heard her king's question, she couldn't help but blush furiously out of embarrassment. Sona, who saw that, decided better not to ask, realizing where everything was going. But before she said anything, her queen spoke. It's good that yesterday I spent a moment alone with Issei-kun, and the conversation we had together while hugging and kissing him was something really very special, said Queen Citri, completely red with embarrassment. However, Sona is frowning because for some reason when she heard that, without realizing that she is extremely jealous. And well, ending the day with the others, and he, well, Queen Citri was trying to say, but she couldn't because of her embarrassment. Sona blushed a lot when she understood what her meaning meant. Queen causing them more jealousy since she also wanted to be with the brunette, but she did not have enough courage to tell him something that everyone had realized. Tsubaki, could you tell Issei-kun if he could come these days since I need to talk to him about some issues? The Citri heiress said, diverting the topic since she felt uncomfortable and jealous hearing that. She imagined herself with the brunette on a night of passion, making him blush furiously. Okay, Sona, I'll give you the message, said Queen Citri, thinking that perhaps her king was finally going to confess to her lover, since all the other girls had realized that the last three girls who loved the brunette were not, they had confessed, so they decided it was better to let them prepare themselves to confess their feelings. Both girls had returned to their own thing, however, each one in her own thoughts, Sona telling the brunette her feelings at any cost even though she was afraid that he would say no or not be enough for him, Tsubaki with how happy she had been. Since she is with the brunette, making her fall more and more in love with him, making her completely in love with him, so much so that she wouldn't know what to do if he weren't with her. End of memory. He didn't tell you what it was, the brunette asked, intrigued since he didn't think she was going to confess because he goes to see Sona a lot because of his business with the academy, in addition to seeing her and spending time with her since she was one of the girls he had fallen in love with. He didn't just tell me that, Queen Citri answered, making the brunette nod. By the way, she is not the only one who sent you to call Issei-chan, Serafal said, drawing the attention of the aforementioned. Tiamat visited me this afternoon, and after having a conversation with her she told me if you could go to this address tomorrow, said the pigtailed Mao, giving her a paper with the address. The brunette took it a little doubtful of what is going to happen at that moment. I think it would be better if you went and finished it once and for all, Drake advised, seeing that the brunette was a little doubtful. Since the fight he awoke that feeling for the dragon, something common since the race of dragons gets a mate by in the middle of the fights, something that the brunette was very aware of, that's why he didn't know what to do. I assure you that she also feels the same as you, the feeling that you develop was also developed by her, they both fell in love. It may be a little silly how that sounds, but it is true, our race develops this feeling when a male and a female they fight, although they almost never happen, but there are always exceptions. The feeling you developed for her is legitimate, just as she feels for you, Drake clarified when he saw that his partner still had some doubts. The brunette already knew all that, but hearing it from his friend gave him a little courage, and he hoped that tomorrow's meeting didn't end badly. After all, as his friend had said, he had fallen in love with her. No one heard this conversation since everything happened in the brunette's mind. The other girls who heard that understood that Sona and Tiamat could live with them very soon, something that does not bother them since the brunette, despite the number, has never neglected them and rather pampered them much more like the massage that they finished to receive, making some have a smile when remembering how pleasant it felt, hoping to be able to repeat it very soon. But even though the girls got along well, sometimes they fought over Issei, but nothing serious. It was more of a game between them to see what Issei would do, where the winner was always the same Issei, since when they fought like that he gave them a passionate kiss, calming things down, although some continued, as in the case of Kuroka, Gabriel, Yasaka and Seraphal, who ended up completely unconscious. So the brunette made love to them until he couldn't take it anymore. Even when they said they couldn't anymore, the brunette continued, so they would understand. Since he doesn't have the courage to yell at them or hit them, so the only thing that occurred to him was that, although Gabriel and Seraphal were the ones who enjoyed that punishment the most. When Ophis noticed that brunette, she did not let the brunette go out until she was completely satisfied, although most of the time it was she who ended up unconscious from the pleasure. Irina, Lufei, Tsubaki, Elmenheil demanded compensation from the brunette by making him take them on dates, where he gladly accepted, taking them on several dates. The other girls also asked them for dates and he did not refuse. Currently, the brunette was flying through the underworld to the direction given to him by the pigtailed Mao. Since he didn't know where he was, he flew away instead of teleporting. When he arrived, he realized that it was a completely mountainous area where there was literally nothing. He stayed waiting while he raised his aura a little to make him understand that he was already here, but after a few minutes of nothing happening, the brunette was going to leave, but I had to jump to escape a flash of flame. He looked at his attacker again and saw the blue-haired girl wearing a bodysuit, revealing her well-formed body, making the brunette unable to avoid seeing her, while his instincts began to awaken, making him make the woman in front of him his own. That same instinct was what Ophis had awakened that time she had to ask the other girls for help, but this time it was in a lesser sense, for now. Tiamat began to blush and get a little excited since she had not realized that the brunette was releasing pheromones due to his state of excitement. "Because you attack me," the brunette said, trying to sound calm, but he was really controlling himself to jump on top of her and make her his again and again. But seeing how beautiful the dragon was and her well-formed body with those clothes that only told, but her curves were almost impossible. The dragon didn't say anything and just looked at the brunette, trying not to jump on him and force him to make her his again and again, since the brunette was throwing out even more pheromones, making it almost impossible for the dragon to contain herself. She had only come to find out if what she felt was right, even though she already knew the answer. She wanted to confine him anyway. Furthermore, she wanted another fight, since last time she realized that the dragon hidden part of its power, although she did it too. But she also wanted to get revenge on Drake for breaking that treasure that was very precious to her, and the only way was through his porter. Drake destroyed the only memory of my mother he left me. I trusted it to him because he swore he would take care of it, because he insisted and promised me that he would return it to me in the same way I gave it to him, said the Dragon Queen with clear anger, and some tears ran down her cheeks. While the brunette, when he heard that, was yelling at Drake a lot of things, while he remembered everything and only stayed silent because he knew he deserved it. At that time he didn't care who he used to defeat Albion. Now years later he realizes what he really did. "I'm not going to forgive myself. I swore to myself that I would kill each of its carriers every time I find one," the dragon said seriously, but excitedly. Without thinking twice, she threw herself with all her strength and speed against Issei with the clear intention of killing him, according to her. The brunette was surprised because she was much faster than when she fought before, quickly covering herself from the blow that caused the ground to break due to the force. "Please stop, I don't want to fight with you," said the brunette, trying to get him to ration while he tried to control himself. Fighting in that state was not good. The only thing it did was excite him more when he saw how powerful she was, making him have more desire to make her his. After all, dragons always look for strong females. The dragon did not ignore it and gave a paw that Issei also covered, breaking the ground even more due to the strong impact. He grabbed her leg and threw her up, where she quickly stabilized herself, the brunette getting in front of her as they looked at each other. The dragon attacked again, starting an aerial battle. However, the brunette only remained decent. He did not want to hurt her since he had fallen in love with her. He knew she was strong, but fighting in that state he really did not know if he would get out of control. "Fight, I want you to fight," the Dragon Queen shouted, angry and excited since her instincts were dominating her as she saw how Issei-haired man demonstrated that strength. However, the brunette only defended himself without attacking. He blocked or dodged the blows that the dragon sent him. The fight continued that way, and Tiamat no longer knew what to do to make the brunette fight. Clearly he is stronger than her. As the fight progressed, the dragon began to slow down as she felt more and more frustrated, until the time came when she simply threw blows at Issei's chest with tears in her eyes wanting to come out and an expression of frustration. Because you don't fight, the dragon said again. However, like the previous times, the brunette didn't say anything, he just hugged the dragon, making her open her eyes in surprise. I'm sorry, the brunette said, making the brunette even more surprised by that. I can't do anything for your treasure, I can't do anything to reduce all the frustration and anger, said the brunette, making the dragon allow herself to be pampered by the brunette, making her blush while her excitement began to grow from having him so close. But not he did nothing since his sadness and frustration were greater. I also know that nothing can replace it since it was of utmost importance to you, but if you allow me, even if it is a little compensatory, said the brunette, drawing the dragon's attention upon hearing those words. Allow me to be by your side, allow me to make you happy, allow me to compensate you for all these years that Dragón caused you. By carrying it inside me I feel responsible for this situation. Please allow me to make this beautiful woman happy, said the brunette with complete sincerity and love. After all, he could no longer deny the fact that he had fallen in love with the dragon, whether he wanted to or not. There was nothing he could do, so the only thing he expected was for her to allow him to be by her side. On the part of the dragon, she is simply totally surprised by hearing those words, not to say that she was dying of happiness when she heard it, since she could not deny that she had fallen in love with him, and knowing that he returned her feelings, although she knew that she had to sharing it did not bother him. After all, Ophis was sharing it, if she who is a dragon goddess shared Issei because she can't. I hope you take responsibility, it was the only thing the dragon said to the brunette, but it didn't last long since her lips had been claimed by the dragon, who was still being hugged by the brunette, surrendering to the feeling that was invading her, but also slowly surrendering to his dragon instincts. On the other hand, the brunette came out of shock, hugging the dragon to keep her closer to him while his instincts began to dominate him. It didn't take long for the dragon couple to begin a passionate kiss that turned into one of desire. That way the brunette began to caress the dragon's body, her neck, her back, her butt and her legs. The dragon couldn't take it anymore and completely surrendered to her instincts, beginning to remove the brunette's shirt, revealing his entire torso, making her run her hands through it while licking her lips when she saw it. The brunette did his best not to let himself be dominated, but it was extremely difficult for him since seeing the dragon that way excited him greatly, but he still resisted, for now, because if he lets himself be dominated he will trick Tiamat, because she was still a virgin, since she didn't have the slightest, not to say she didn't have the slightest smell of a man on her. Time skip. Ophis created a magic circle in her ear. Clearly this was one of communication. If it was going to happen like the last time, she couldn't with her lover, so she needed all the help she could get, and luckily for her now her lover had more women than him. We'll help them. I need everyone who can to head home now, Ophis said seriously through the communication circle that communicated to all the girls in Issei, even Aika. What's wrong, Ophis-sama? The magician asked worriedly. Luffei, Kuroka, Yasaka Issei is in the same way as that time when she handed me over to him. Ophis said that Sona was very happy and excited, and without further ado the three mentioned had already left the call, heading towards the man's house. Issei to prepare and enjoy one of the best nights, or days of your life. Ophis, what exactly is happening? Gabriel asked, innocently not understanding what he was referring to, and just like the others. Remember when I told you what happens? A dragon gives herself to Issei. Ophis asked to receive a yes from everyone. Well, right now Tiamat is giving herself to Issei, she said again while letting the dragon's moans be heard, making everyone blush and get excited. That means, Tsubaki was going to say, but his words died when he understood everything. If Tiamat is not going to be enough to calm Issei's lust, so, if you want to have one of the best moments of your life, I recommend that you go to the house and prepare. I will take Issei in a while. I finished saying Ophis to approach the couple with clear desires that the brunette would claim her right there. Human world, England, Pendragon family. Luffei Pendragon was visiting her parents' house when she received the call from Ophis. Mother, father, I'm sorry, but I need to go, the magician said quickly, creating a magic circle at her feet to leave immediately. Daughter, what happened? Why are you leaving like that? Something happened? Lady Pendragon asked worriedly. Don't worry, mother, nothing has happened. I just had an issue, he said, smiling at them and beginning to disappear in the circle. I promise that I will come visit you again, this time with Issei-sama, the magician finished saying to completely disappear, leaving Lord and Lady not knowing what to think. Underworld, City of Lilith, Citri Academy. Kuroka was teaching normally while many of the students looked at her with lust as she provoked them. Since her beloved brunette had returned and had claimed her as hers, making her partner, she resumed her previous attitude, making the students desire her more since she provoked them. Even while walking through the hallways of the academy or teaching classes, she moved her hips, much to her amusement as she saw how some of them had blood coming out of their noses. However, she never let anyone touch her even a hair, since there was only one man who could do that, her beloved brunette, and if it's not him, no one else can touch her. She was teaching when a magic circle appeared in her ear informing her of the situation. She immediately became very excited while licking her lips, making more than one student faint when she saw her like that, including some girls who adored the Nikomata. "Well, class ends here since I need to deal with something." Naya was the only thing the Nikomata said to run toward Sona's office, who upon arriving opened the door without caring, surprising everyone except Tsubaki, who was still talking to the girls. Other girls. "Kuroka, why do you come in like that?" the Citri heiress asked, surprised to see her friend come in that way. "Sona, I need to go." "Naya, this is life or death," the Nikomata said hurriedly, making all the people in the room surprised by that since all the Citri were present. "What's wrong, Kuroka? Something bad happened." "Something bad happened to Issei-kun?" Sona asked, quite startled that something bad happened. "Nothing happened to him, Naya, but I came to tell you that I'm going to leave for today and tomorrow since something came up." "Naya," the Nikomata said with a mischievous smile. "Sona, I'm leaving too. I need to go help what's presented." Queen Citri said, completely red, surprising everyone because of that. Only Kuroka had a smile on her face when she saw her like that and thought, why not? Take your friend to enjoy one of the best moments of her life. "Sona, why don't you come with us? I promise you won't regret it." That took Tsubaki and Sona's curiosity by surprise, as well as the rest of her followers. "I'm telling you from my own experience, Naya, this moment is not going to happen again since only Ophis and Tiamat are the only dragons who can be with Issei." "Naya, Ophis has already been through that and really, believe me when I tell you that there is nothing better than that," Kuroka said, moving forward as she saw that Queen Citri was going to say something. "At this moment we only have Tiamat who is the one in charge at the moment, Naya. If she misses this opportunity she will not see another." "Naya," said the Nikomata, convincing Queen Citri and further intriguing Sona and her entourage. "Besides, Gabriel and Seraphal will most likely go after Penemu and drag her away. We can't allow any of us to be left out of this," Kuroka said with determination, holding Sona's arm. Tsubaki held Sona by one arm while in a magic circle the three disappeared without letting the Citri heiress say anything and leaving the next Citri without knowing what to say or do. "You just kidnapped Sona-sama," Lup said without knowing what to say or do. "Tomo, I think you're in charge," Momo said, trying to say something coherent. However, no one knew whether to go look for their king or continue as if they hadn't seen anything. Human world, Kyoto. Yasaka was explaining to her daughter about some important documents about some clans while Kaneko was next to her since she also wanted to learn to help her friend, sister. However, the lessons were suspended when Yasaka developed a communication circle in her ear and quickly hung up after some time. "Excuse me girls, but something important came up tomorrow. I will continue with the injury," Kitsune said without giving the two girls time to say anything when he had already disappeared in the direction of the underworld where a certain Valkyrie specifically lived. However, when he arrived he called Seraphal and Gabriel to go get the last girl that was needed since he imagined that Kuroka and Tsubaki would take Sona, Gabriel and Seraphal to Penemu. Only the Rossweiser who is in charge of her would be missing. She, along with Ophis and Kuroka, had talked about the Valkyrie's relationship and the feelings she has. After that occasion where only they, thanks to their sharper senses, were able to hear the conversation between Ryu and her lover, and from that moment on they began to open their eyes to the girl who had kept them closed for fear that the same thing would happen as before. They were happy when they saw that Ryu helped them since he began to distance himself from her, making her depressed, but some visits from the brunette and them lifted her spirits. The house was already ready, they simply needed to open that heart that had been closed by fear. The problem they had was how to do it since the fear they had in their hearts was very great, and for that reason they decided to do it little by little with the help of Issei, but things are different now. Issei is with his instincts, something that very little to say almost never happened, but thanks to Ophis they experienced that night that was one of the best of their lives. It is not that the brunette made love to them badly or that they did not reach climax, since every time they did it with him each one of them was completely satisfied, for them there was nothing better. But for some reason that time when Ophis asked them for their help they did not refuse for several very logical reasons, but at the moment of doing so it was a unique sensation where their minds had been completely clouded by pleasure. From that moment Kuroka and Lufei became very close, more than before, while Ophis and Yasaka became too close. Clearly that did not bother her in the least, and they were both happy to have that bond between them. Returning to the topic of the Valkyrie, they had decided to handle the cases gently, but the situation is not optimal. Everyone who experienced that day understood that this is something that everyone has to experience, and from that moment they thought of a way for when the day arrived. Moment for everyone to be together, since they knew that Tiamat at some point was going to give herself to the only man who was worthy of her, according to Ophis's words. Unfortunately things didn't turn out the way the four of them wanted, but at least they were almost all together. The only problem was the Valkyrie, who didn't know how she would react. With Penemu I knew that at first I wouldn't want to do it that way, but I didn't have a choice, so they decided that I would do it with the brunette without the intervention of one of the others, so that their moment would be unique and special, although not intimate since they would all be there. With Sona, Seraphal had not said that her love for the brunette was too emaciated, also that she was going to refuse by all means, but once the brunette started she would not withdraw. For that reason they also decided to give him his moment without that they get involved, so that their first time is the best. With Rossweiser things were more difficult since they did not know what could happen once in the arms of Issei. Without any other option she decided to take a risk, take her with her and give her to Issei, hoping that that could help her. When I arrived at the apartment where the Valkyrie lived with her husband, this step was untouched and I had no time. The couple was talking. Although Rossweiser had a very sad expression, Ryu saw Yasaka and understood that either something happened or it was time to say goodbye to his beloved wife. He approached her and made her look at him. Listen to me, Rossweiser, I want you to listen to me very well. I love you very much, but we both know that your happiness is not being with me. The true happiness is being with Hayadu Issei, Ryu said seriously while Rossweiser heard him say those words surprised him. And it's true, not long ago she had realized, she loves her husband very much. She would say too much, but she really didn't love him. She had ravaged herself with fear, thinking that the feeling she had for Ryu was truly love, but during this time in which she lived and talked with the brunette, she realized that she had always been madly in love with him. Her fear and insecurity tormented her. She could not do like the other girls who carried that burden. Even though she endured it for several years, she did not endure it until the end, causing her fear and pain to tame her, closing her heart and thinking that she had forgotten the brunette without realizing that with each passing day she yearned and loved more and more the only man who had loved, and protected her when no one else did. However, abandoning the man who took care of her, protected her and even loved her felt like complete garbage. She didn't want to leave him like that because she knew that was wrong, something that Ryu had already realized and decided to clarify that detail. He saw Rossweiser again and she also saw him again. I want you to know that you are not a bad person or anything like that. Leave me alone. On the contrary, you are a good person with a big heart, but there are things in which you have to be selfish. Ross, please, for once in your life, be selfish and go look for the man. You know that I love you and you love him. Be selfish to go find your happiness because your happiness is my happiness, Ryu said, surprising not only Rossweiser but also the kitsune. He had never met a person like that other than his beloved brunette, since they have many things similar, but they are also two completely different people. It hurt him to see that since he was a very good person, everyone liked him a lot, since of all the bastards who had the Gremory as a boyfriend, only he had treated them well as a good friend, even Razor, even though they got along well. They did not have a friendship with him. Rossweiser's thoughts were a mess. She didn't know what to do if she wanted to run to find the hug of her beloved brunette, but she also didn't have the courage to leave the person who owed her so much. Even though he was married, he had never touched her, or forced to have sex since she did not feel comfortable. Ryu grabbed her hand and took her to where Yasaka was and pushed her towards her. Go and live your life without regrets, but mainly live your life happily, he said, wanting to cry, but he didn't and gave Rossweiser a smile. I'm sorry, she whispered with great pain in her words, but Ryu denied those words while Yasaka made a teleportation circle preparing to leave with Rossweiser. Do not apologize to me for something you have not done, and if you want to do it, look me in the eyes, give me a sincere smile that comes from your heart and tell me that you will do everything possible to be happy, Ryu said, making Rossweiser surprised by those words. And without thinking about it, he gives him the most sincere smile he had made in years, a smile that he had only dedicated to the brunette. Thank you, I will strive to be happy, and you too, please strive to be happy, she said, and then disappeared from the place while Ryu, with a big smile, finally saw the true smile of the now ex-wife, but from now her best friend. Thank you, I will also force myself. I wish you the best, Rossweiser, he said with a little pain. After all, he was happy, but he also felt a little pain since he also loved her. Heaven, first heaven. Irina was training with Griselda, surprising her with how much the brunette has improved, since before she could barely do anything, but now she easily fights her and is even faster than her. However, in the middle of the meeting the magic circle appeared in her ear, surprising Griselda, who did not know what was happening since the brunette stopped for a moment. After a few moments the brunette began to jump with happiness. I'm sorry, Griselda-san, but something presented itself to me. I hope to be able to train my mind again with you, the brunette said without giving her time to say anything when the brunette disappeared. And I'm coming, Issei-kun. It was the last thing the reincarnated exorcist heard, who was totally confused by what just happened. Heaven, sixth heaven. Gabriel was in a meeting with his brothers when a communication circle appeared in his ear, making everyone realize that. Ophis, what exactly is happening? Gabriel said innocently while her brothers were looking at her, surprised that she said the name of the goddess of infinity, but she did not show any intention to them. Ophis answered him, making him stand up quickly, scaring his brothers with the sudden movement. The magic circle disappeared, but another one appeared, but he could hear who it was and what he said. Gabriel goes with Seraphal to Grigori and bring Penemu. If she resists, use force, but he has to bring her no matter what, Yasaka said seriously, to which she only said yes. Miguel came to me that he needs my full attention, so if you'll excuse me, I'll leave, said Gabriel, who left the place without letting any of them say anything. After he left, everyone looked at each other wondering if someone would say something, but no one said anything. Maybe Issei I have something to do with that, said Miguel, who returned to the meeting as if nothing happened since he heard that Seraphal was also involved, so things will not be calm, and if they go for Penemu the best decision will be to ignore everything and continue as if nothing will happen, without knowing that they are going to claim their sister until dawn. Human world, Romania. Elmenhild was signing some documents when the communication circle appeared, and then she smiled and left the place without caring about the papers. She only left a note saying that something came up and needed her attention. Underworld, Phoenix Territory, Phoenix Mansion. Ravel had been called by her parents to try to fix the things they caused, however it always ended the same, with Ravel upset and with the words, "It's not me you have to talk to, it's my fiancé." However, they didn't have the face to talk to the brunette, since after all, when he got engaged to the blonde Phoenix he arranged all the family's businesses. He also gave a large sum of money to his brothers-in-law to help raise his family. It didn't take long when Phoenix family had risen from the hole it was in, and this time with more power. The brunette's brothers-in-law thanked him infinitely, but like his parents, they did not have the courage to look at his face since they did nothing to prevent the wedding and just watched. The brunette had done that because despite everything it was still his beloved fiancé's family, and although she was very angry and resented them, she still loved them. After all, they are her family. Ravel was talking to her parents, but a circle of communication appeared in her ear, and after a few moments they saw how their daughter was blushing furiously to stand up and prepare to leave. "I'm sorry Oda-san, Oka-san, but Issei-sama needs me," she said, and then left without giving them time to answer anything. Underworld, Castle Leviathan. "Let me pass, my husband needs me," a scream was heard throughout the castle. "Leviathan-sama, we need you to go back to work," said one of the assistants, trying to control the Mao, who wanted to leave after hearing, "If you want to have one of the best moments of your life, I recommend that you go to the house and prepare to take in a while to Issei." Absolutely no one was going to stop him from having one of the best moments of his life, and from the tone Ophis used he wasn't lying. However, when she wanted to leave, they stopped her, which made her very angry. "I will ask you for the last time to let me pass, or to know the power of a magical girl," the mouse said very seriously as she expelled her aura to a group of 20 demons who did not let her pass, but despite the words, no one said anything. "Very well, then let it be so," said the Mao, moments later literally freezing the entire castle and jumping out of the main door as if nothing had happened with a big smile, but another circle of communication stopped her. "Seraphal, go with Gabriel through Penemu to Grigori and bring her at any cost. If she resists, use force," Yasaka said, so that the Mao understood what she was referring to and left for Cadre. Underworld, Grigori. In front of Grigori's central facilities where Penemu was always, two magic circles appear, making everyone be on guard in case it was an enemy. However, he was pleasantly surprised to see that the Mao Seraphal appeared from one, while the Seraph Gabriel appeared from the other. Everyone was surprised by that, since the two of them being together and without fighting was something very strange, but the situation they were in makes it clear. They both took out their wings, 12 angel wings and 12 demon wings, and flew quickly towards where they felt the energy of a certain cadre. Note, I don't know if Seraphal has 12 or 10 wings, but here she will have 12. This surprised everyone since he was heading precisely to where the goat Penemu was, since he had passed by there previously. All the cadre were at a meeting, including Azazel, who was bored waiting for something good to happen, when suddenly the window breaks, letting the Mao and the Seraph enter. Everyone was going to be on guard, but when they found out who they were all surprised. Azazel thanked his dead father for performing that miracle, however it did not last long, since he could see a red dragon mark on the Mao's arm, making him open his eyes in surprise when he knew where that mark came from. A great fear began to run through his entire being, because if one of them has Issei's mark, how many possibilities is there that the other also has it, since he had heard from Miguel that Gabriel had gone to live with Issei, however before something happened in heaven, since she and the brunette didn't leave the room for 3 days. Fear was what Azazel felt. He was more afraid at that moment than when he was in charge of the Trihexa. He was afraid that his greatest fear would be reality. So with a little courage he returned to see Gabriel, who had a calm smile. However, when he lowered his gaze a little he could see the same tattoo as the Mao's on his left chest. He fell to his knees, feeling like his reason for living was gone. The world no longer made sense. The apple forbidden to everyone had been claimed by someone. Oh, Azazel screamed in great pain. It was a scream that was heard throughout the world. Even in Asgard, when Odin heard it, he also felt fear, terror. He also saw that a friend needed help without wasting time. He was going to help him when his wife hit him on the head with a stick, leaving him seeing stars, since that is the only way he found to control her beloved husband. Returning to Azazel, he was on the ground in a ball, wondering whether to worship or hate Issei. He was seriously thinking about making a sacrifice with Issei's blood to his dead father, or making a new faction that worships Issei and sees him as the only one and true God. Everyone in the room had a drop on their head, and even more so when they saw how Seraphal pricked the fallen man with her magic wand to see if he was still alive. Seraphal, Gabriel, what are you doing in these places? Penemu asked, very surprised that they were not fighting, although lately she also fights with the two of them, although they are never real fights and they consider themselves best friends with each other. We come for you, Penemu, the seraph said calmly, confusing everyone. Issei-chan needs us, said the Mao, who had left Azazel with his depression or his decision that could change the world. Penemu blushed a lot when she heard her lover's name. What do you mean by do they need us? Said with great doubt, while the other cadre only observed the very interesting situation, since seeing the three of them together was something extremely rare. Issei-kun has a certain problem that you don't know if we can solve together, and we need the help of everyone who can, Gabriel said with a calm smile, preparing to knock out the goat if she refuses. Besides, what is going to happen today will never happen again. We will not allow you to miss one of the best moments you will live in your life, said the Mao, also preparing in case he refused. The cadre was very confused about what her friends were referring to, no matter how strange it sounds that they really were her friends. Besides, it is time for you to stop that indecision that torments your heart, said the seraph, drawing the attention of the cadre and startling her, since this topic was very delicate and important to her. And now is the time for you to have that, said the Mao, showing her mark just like Gabriel. When they saw the marks, everyone was surprised by that, since they knew how that mark is obtained, and knowing which man they love her, it was not difficult to connect the dots. The men fell to their knees with great pain in their hearts, except Barakil, knowing that two of the three most coveted girls in the whole world now belonged to a single man, but they immediately understood what the two girls were talking about before. They were to take Penemu to spend a night with Issei. They got up to avoid such an atrocity, but it was too late, since Penemu lowered her guard when she heard and saw the marks, making her blush furiously. This was taken advantage of by both girls, who took her by the arms and disappeared from that place, leaving only the dreams and illusions of all the men in the world destroyed. They screamed with pain in their hearts as they accompanied Azazel in his suffering. Was the moan that Ophis had let out, and ended up completely fainting from the constant orgasms that the brunette had made her have. Issei stood up to go out and take a small bath, since his entire body was sweating from all the sex he had with his lovers. The brunette came out of that room where all his loved ones were sleeping peacefully, with a big smile on his face after being claimed by who knows how many times by the person most important to them. As he walked down a bare hallway straight to the hot springs to cool off a little, he realized that it was 11 at night, something he didn't care about, and continued on his way. However, he did not realize that there was already someone in the hot springs who was none other than Aika, who could not sleep and decided to take a bath. Once inside, he had finally realized the presence of the brunette, who was looking at him with a big blush, while blood came out of her nose. Aika, I'm sorry, I didn't see that he was busy, said the brunette, a little embarrassed, thinking that the brunette saw him completely naked, although a few months ago he began to have a certain attraction with her, especially when he spent time alone with the pervert. That they always laughed together at their inconsistencies, since Aika, despite everything, remained a pervert, and the brunette, despite his perversion had diminished because of everything he does with his girls, was still one, but only in private. Don't worry, Issei, thank you more for the private show, said the brunette, still seeing the brunette's body with a big blush. Those words embarrassed the brunette a little. I hope you don't mind that we share a bathroom, said the brunette, who, even though the brunette was not one of his partners, he considered her as one because of the great affection and appreciation he had for her. With you I can share whatever you want, said the brunette in a totally perverted tone. Or seriously, why don't you come over to see what else we can share, said the brunette in the same tone. Of course, Aika had become someone very special to him, so much so that he wouldn't let anything bad happen to her, and he dared to touch her or hurt her. I wish I was dead. The brunette, upon listening to the brunette, blushed furiously, since after all Aika can be a pervert, but when it comes to something like this she is very shy, since she has never been with a man, much less one like the brunette, who more than once she had pleased herself thinking about how the brunette made her his. Come on, Aika, I'm not biting, come on, Issei said to the brunette, who, despite her enormous blush, began to approach the brunette while she was crawling, causing the brunette to get excited for some reason seeing her like that since he couldn't deny, but she had become someone very, very beautiful. Since he saved her that time when both she and her body were very emaciated, he took care of her and protected her as if she were one of his loved ones, making the brunette fall more and more in love with the brunette who was also awakening certain feelings. Issei recovered little by little, surprising the brunette by how beautiful she became as she grew up. However, when the brunette had completely recovered, she left the brunette speechless since she had a beautiful face that stood out with her hair, Issei, and the 2 braids that fell down her shoulders, but they reached almost to her waist. She had a beautiful body, big and firm breasts, but not so exaggerated, a small waist, and wide hips. She had long and sexy legs, plus her thighs that made her nice and round but stand out. In short, the brown one had he was left with his mouth open in surprise. Even though she did not have a great body like the other girls who lived in the house, the brunette could tell that she had a unique beauty. The brunette approached the brunette and sat next to her, clearly with the intention of provoking him, since despite her shyness she had decided to be part of the brunette's harem, since she did not mind sharing that wonderful and sensational man. And she also had to worry about not being satisfied, because before she got to the rooms she looked at the special room and couldn't help but get excited when she saw all her friends totally unconscious with a smile full of ecstasy, and she got even more excited when she saw and heard how she was complaining to Ophis, making her only moan with taste and pleasure while telling him not to stop. But well, she had fallen in love with him, something that could have been avoided. She did not stop it since after being saved by the brunette, she liked his way of being so calm and serious, but without leaving that kind and loving side that he showed to her loved ones. But what ended up captivating her was that desire to protect her loved ones without caring about her own life. So she decided to let herself go, so that in the end she ended up madly in love with the brunette. Now the brown-haired couple were next to each other. Issei, despite her shyness and great embarrassment, began to provoke the brunette by getting closer to him while exposing her chest. She was clearly dying of embarrassment, but she decided to reach out until the end. It was approximately 3 in the morning when Issei was carrying Issei in his arms and was already dressed while he was only wearing pants, leaving his chest completely exposed. They had made love for 4 hours without stopping, something that surprised the brunette since it was the brunette's first time. During those 4 hours they both let themselves go, consuming their love completely. However, after 4 hours the brunette couldn't take it anymore and fell into Morpheus's arms with a big smile of happiness for what she had just done, and because now she can be with the person she loved. The brunette proceeded to leave her in her room very carefully, without her realizing that there were 3 other girls in his house and currently only 2 of them are sleeping soundly. After he left the brunette on this walk around his house, since he had not seen his beloved Mao and was wondering if something was wrong or if something was missing that was strange since she always sleeps there. He continued his way to the Mao's room, where he couldn't help but be surprised to see none other than Sona Citri sitting at the window looking at that beautiful night that was reflected by the moonlight. The brunette was totally hypnotized by seeing the Citri heiress like that since she looked extremely beautiful. Issei couldn't help but feel like his heart was beating rapidly. The first thing he wondered was what Sona was feeling in her house, but that idea disappeared when he saw how she was bathed in moonlight, making her look really beautiful. After all, Sona was no longer the ailment that he had known. She was now a woman. Although she still has that serious and cold attitude on her face, he knew that beneath that mask was a rather shy girl. She had changed a lot, making that time alone make that teenager become a beautiful pariah woman that over time made her more and more beautiful. Compared to her teenage body, she now had a well-developed body, but not exaggerated. See, breasts that were not big, but not small either. Her waist was small as always, and she had developed more hips. She now had a quite pretty and pleasant body in sight, making her look quite sexy, something that the brunette didn't care much about since before when he was a teenager he still found her sexy. But what captivated the brunette most was seeing that look, those beautiful eyes that the brunette had always liked. When he was a teenager, Sona always caught his attention. However, because he had RIAS and all the things that happened, he never got there to treat her properly to see if that was really love or always mind appreciation. Plus he didn't try anything with her for his friend Saji since he knew about the feelings she had. Although he knew that, even if it wasn't love, it was a very strong feeling, almost like love, since he also had that desire to protect her and help her in everything, just as he had for RIAS. He remembered how she told him about her dream and how he offered her all his help. For some reason at that moment he wanted to help her make that beautiful dream stop being just a dream and come true. That way he always supported her when she needed it, and years later she had fulfilled hers, making the brunette very happy. However, he found out about everything that she was fighting to keep. He found out how those people with greed for power wanted to take it away from him, but mainly he found out how she defended him with nails and blows. That way, without thinking twice, he intervened, helping the heiress Citri and making all those problems that surrounded her begin to disappear, lightening that burden that had been tormenting her for years. Slowly, without making noise, he approached the Citri heiress who had not realized his presence because she was in her thoughts. Out of nowhere she felt someone hug her, making her come back to herself and startle with surprise. However, even though she didn't know who it was at that moment, just by feeling the arms that surrounded her, a feeling began to invade her, a feeling that he had not felt in a long time. He immediately knew who it was, but still he did nothing. For his part, the brunette knew that because of Sona's attitude he could turn around and hit him, but since he lost all that time locked up where he lost many things valuable to him, he became a person who takes risks so as not to lose anything important to him again. He could feel Sona tense up. At that same moment he felt her body relax, making him hug her a little tighter, bringing her closer to him. They didn't know how, or how long they stayed that way, but despite the time, no one said anything except that they stayed there. Sona was alone looking at that beautiful moon while she let that feeling completely invade her, making her feel calm, and she also let herself be surrounded by the aura that Issei gave off, making her completely relax. For Issei's part, he only had his arms around her while he let him feel that aura that came out of her, making him feel happy while he delighted in the aroma that came from her. They both remained like that for almost 30 minutes, until one of them broke that silence. "You know, at that moment when you left and saved Wanisama, I felt like I had lost something very important," said the Citri heiress, making the brunette only listen to her. "Even though I never got over your departure since I missed the few times when we talked and laughed," the Citri heiress continued calmly. "Sometime later I thought that emptiness I felt when I didn't have you close was because I had fallen in love with you, however you weren't there to know if it was love or not," said the Citri heiress, but this time in a sad way, making the brunette hug her a little louder to calm her down. "Time passed and I thought it was only because I had lost what was my best friend. That's how a few years later he started a relationship with Saji, even though he was with Momo and Ruruko," Sona informed, making the brunette feel great discomfort with just imagining Sona in the arms of another even though this is his friend. "For a while I was happy, but the happiness I felt was very different from what I thought I felt. It was very different from the happiness I felt when I was with you," Sona said, releasing everything that she had kept in her heart for so long. Something that not even her best friend had told. "The relationship just started to go worse and got worse when Saji just wanted to sleep with me, but I didn't feel ready, making me more and more insistent," the Citri heiress reported, making the brunette make a mental note of go visit your dearest friend to chat a little. "During all this time I always wanted to see you again, I always wanted to have another talk with you, I always wanted to laugh again like I did at that time with you, I always wanted to know if what I feel, that when you left you gave me feeling was true love," Sona continued saying, but this time you could hear yourself crying. "Tsubaki arrived at the academy with a big smile of pure happiness every day where I asked her the reason for that happiness and she answered that it was because she was with you. I felt angry, sad, jealous, and above all I felt bad. I felt angry not because of her or with her but because of how weak I was for not being able to face you and tell you everything I thought. I felt sad for not being able to be close to you. I felt jealous when I saw the happiness that Tsubaki already had. That I was too dear and I felt bad because despite everything I didn't have the courage to be with you," said the Citri heiress with small tears running down her beautiful face. The brunette, who had remained silent the whole time, had a strong pain in his chest because of everything he had heard. He immediately returned to Sona, standing in front of him, to her surprise at the sudden movement, but he couldn't say anything when he felt how Issei claimed her lips, making her open her eyes as wide as possible due to that action. A part of her wanted to push him away, but on the other hand, which was gaining more and more strength, she didn't want him to stop, mainly because she felt all the love that the brunette can express with a single kiss. Little by little, tears began to fall down her cheeks. Sona gave up. She could no longer send everything to hell, and for the first time in her entire life she acted as she wanted. She acted as her heart dictated without caring what happened next. She surrounded her arms around his neck so he could continue with the kiss. The kiss was soft and a little pacified. When they separated to the great enjoyment of the Citri heiress who frowned at that, they both stared at each other. "Now I want to know, that feeling that you had when I left, and that you still have, is love?" the brunette asked, unable to avoid staring at the small and soft lips of the Citri heiress that tasted like wax, since the previous kiss was actually a very good one that for some reason I didn't want to stop tasting those lips. Sona, who saw that for some reason, liked it. She liked it and she liked to see how the brunette was trying to control himself so as not to kiss her. And to answer that question that the brunette had asked her, the Citri heiress only kissed the brunette again, but unlike the last time, this time it was a passionate kiss for after a few long minutes where the two had to separate for lack of air. "This I answer. That answers your question," was the only thing the Citri heiress said with a smile, making the brunette unable to help but smile too since that was the answer he wanted. Without wasting time, both of them kissed again with passion, causing their desire for each other to begin to rise more, and without either of them knowing, they were already in bed with Issei on the bottom and Sona on top while they both followed each other. Kissing. The two continued kissing passionately without realizing that a certain Mao with pigtails entered the room where she could see her lover and her dear sister about to make love. She could not help but smile at what is going to happen since she does not know. He's just going to watch and enjoy what's left of the night. The sun rose in the Hayadu mansion where everyone slept peacefully, some better than the others last night, however, in a room where there were privacy seals to prevent anyone from hearing the loud moans that the pigtailed Mao released when she was penetrated. Finally, since the brunette had been filling her completely, making her have a great orgasm and then fall completely unconscious on the bed. The brunette at that moment is breathing quite heavily since he had not stopped making love with his lovers and now his three new lovers who were Sona, Aika, and Tiamat. Although he has stamina, the girls were too excited, making the brunette have to work almost 3 times as hard to completely satisfy everyone. Although he had achieved it and was not very tired, he ran into his dear and now beloved Aika where he showed having a great sexual appetite due to her perverted side that even though her body couldn't take it anymore, she didn't care and asked for more. Worried about one of his lovers, he looked for her the night before just to meet his sister and they ended up making love and some time later his beloved Mao who was looking for her joined them having a threesome for the rest of the night. The brunette was tired and of course since he had literally been making love with his loved ones for 2 whole days, giving him no time to recover, mainly the day before where he awakened his instincts and made uncontrolled love with his loved ones who ended up all unconscious with a smile that no one is going to take away for days. Very carefully he got out of bed since he had to talk to Surzek to check the time since tomorrow was the meeting with all the factions and today he had to meet with Shiva to finish the preparations for the war. Furthermore, he had to look for Azazel since he had to talk about some matters about some information he had. The day was going to be very busy and I wasn't going to have time to rest, again. With effort he got out of bed without waking the Citri sisters. The brunette placed them well next to each other and sheltered them so they could rest. Immediately they both hugged each other, making them look really cute and thinking about everything that happened. A few moments ago, he decided it was better to go out before waking them up and do it again to use up the little energy he had. "Drag, you're awake," said the brunette, already leaving the room and heading towards the kitchen. "If I woke up when they were finishing claiming the Mao, what do you need, partner?" Drag asked calmly. "I'm dead, help me a little," the brunette asked, although it was more like a plea. "Ha ha 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 ha, partner, you are the only one, seriously the only man in the whole world who can put up with this. Look at satisfying the Seraph Gabriel, the dragon goddess of infinity, the former Yukai leader and the Mao Leviathan in just one night like that saying it is something really surprising," Drag said with a little giggle. Not counting the others, it is something that only you can endure since thanks to the fact that you have the most resistant body from Great Red and infinite energy so to speak from Ophis, you can please all your females and still have energy and strength to continue, Drag commented to which the brunette could not deny that since Gabriel herself was an insatiable woman among all of them, she was the one who was most hungry to make love even though her body was very sensitive and not very resistant to do that. Ophis was another one who, even though she controls herself, knows that her desire to make love is very great and that's not counting those mentioned by Drag. "Better give me a little energy," said the brunette, putting those thoughts aside since he still had a lot to do out there, and whether it was true or not, he still loved them all equally and will continue to love them for all eternity. At that moment the brunette realized that he had very strong feelings, much more than before for the girls, even though he loved them before, now that feeling intensified by a lot, but what was most surprising is that not only with the ones he already had. They were their partners, but with whom they became their partner last night. Yes, it's true, I loved Aika, Sona and Tiamat and I loved them like never before, but now that feeling multiplied a lot. It seems like you already realized it, Drag said, drawing his partner's attention. "Drag, you know what's happening," said the brunette, starting to prepare breakfast for all his loved ones and his guests, which the brunette could now feel since he returned to all his senses. "Yes, partner, what you are feeling can be said to be phase 2 of the brand," Drag commented, missing the brunette. Look at your back," it was the only thing Drag said to which the brunette went to a mirror to see what his friend was referring to, but when he arrived he couldn't help but be surprised. On his entire back was the mark of the Securudii, the same mark of his magic circles and the same mark that all his girls have somewhere on their bodies. What is this?" the brunette asked, very surprised, and it was not just the brand since the brand was divided into different colors and each color specifically had its place in that brand. "That partner is what we call an eternal love," Drake said, surprising the brunette by what he was hearing, and without him realizing behind him all the girls had already woken up that their beautiful dream, even Sona and Seraphal. Although Sona was very blushing, there was also Rossweiser and Penemu. Everyone was calmly talking until they heard the conversation that the brunette was having with Drake, but when they heard an eternal love that left everyone silent and very surprised, mainly Tiamat and Ophis, who opened their eyes as wide as they could, since they at the same time being dragons they knew perfectly well what they were referring to. The two girls ran in the direction of the brunette, in the same way the others followed them. They all arrived at the room where the brunette was on his back, showing them that mark that was all over his back. All the girls were surprised by that mark and marveled at how beautiful it was, and that for some reason it made them feel extremely happy, even Ross and Penemu. It is said that many years ago there was a dragon who loved his partners so much that he would give his life without thinking about it, not even for a second for them. At that time the earth was at war over factions, and that dragon, even though he was not very powerful, always fought to protect his loved ones. Each one of them loved him, but it was not a love as deep as the one he had for them. Mainly because some of them had given themselves to him to protect them, since being weak, no male wanted them, and although he was not very strong, he was enough for them to be alive. They told him that they loved him. Clearly he accepted them, and over time he fell in love with them, Drake related, making everyone present they will listen to that story with great interest, and too much interest. The days passed and the war intensified more and more. However, he always took care of them and protected them, making them able to live peacefully, where he always gave them everything they asked for, no matter the cost he gave it to them. She began to think that he was very naive, and some of them began to take advantage of that dragon who, even though he was young, his love was very deep and sincere, Drake said, making the girls start to get angry for taking advantage of him in that way, being that loved and protected them. However, Ophis and Tiamat, who knew about that story, were trembling, but he didn't know if it was because of anger, sadness, or happiness. One day a group of demons arrived and began to attack his home, clearly attacking his partners. Without hesitation he protected them and fought with those demons that surpassed him in strength and number. All of this was seen by his partners as his beloved fought with those demons. In the end he emerged victorious, however he suffered several very serious injuries. Drake stopped for a moment, since what was coming made him remember his partner when he was a teenager. Even with his wounds he crawled home and began to heal himself. His partners never helped him, however he did not get angry and only with a smile told them, "Don't worry, you are safe, I will protect you, for which are the most important thing in my life." After that he fell asleep due to exhaustion, leaving his partners completely perplexed by the one who was his partner. Pitifully 2 weeks later they attacked his home again, but this time they were angels and they knew that there were some demons in the area. They thought that was their hiding place and they attacked without caring about anything, Drake said with great condolence in his voice. Clearly the angels attacked the couples of that dragon, where even with the wounds of his battle with the demon he protected them without caring about their health or his life, and began to fight with the angels all under the gaze of his females. But what the dragon did not know is that one of those angels was wielding a dragon-killing weapon. During the fight they stabbed him 13 times all over his body, and even so he continued fighting until he couldn't take it anymore and his body fell apart. That angel was going to kill their partners. All of them trembled and cried when they saw their end coming, Drake said with enormous sadness, while the girls thought that dragon seemed strangely similar to Issei. However, Ophis and Tiamat were only silent, letting Drake finish the story. At that moment, when the dragon saw that the angel was going to kill his partners, he, without caring even more about his deplorable state where his entire body was bloody with multiple wounds, rushed out and pushed the angel to place himself in the middle of that angel and his females, leaving them even more perplexed by the actions of their partner, Drake said. They asked him why he was doing that in his current state. He simply looked at them and told them with a calm voice filled with love, "You are my partners, you are my world and the reason for my happiness. They are the rays of light of my life and my motivation to move forward. No matter what happens, I will always protect them, even when I leave my life, because I love them." After having said those words, the dragon turned away. He launched against the angels again with the sole motive and the sole determination to protect the people he loves, Drake commented, making all the girls cry, and the brunette felt how their lives were appreciated. When the dragon's couples heard those words, they couldn't help but cry uncontrollably. They were all sorry for having taken advantage of that being who loves them so much and is giving his life for them. At that moment, the first couple the dragon had and the closest woman rushed to help her lover. Despite being the first, she was also the weakest, but after hearing those words from him, she realized why she was with him, because she loved him, and when she saw how that angel who was wielding the sword kills dragons, what he stabbed again without thinking twice was to help him, with the determination that if he was going to die he was going to do so next to the only man who despised him. he did not mistreat her and he did not humiliate her, but rather the only man who always I love her, he always protected her and I always looked after her safety and comfort. When Drake said that the girls felt happy after all, they would have done the same. If their loved one was in the same state, they would prefer to die with him. While flying to help his beloved, he did not realize that his mark was being surrounded by an aura. It did not take long for one of those females who once used him and took advantage of him, to help him with the same thought as the first. If they were going to die, they were going to do so next to the only man who loves and protects them, with the only man that each of them loves, without realizing that their marks were surrounded by the same aura that surrounded them. To the dragon, Drake said. At that time his desire to protect the dragon was so great that the marks underwent a change for the first time in our history. The same mark appeared on the dragon's back, but it was larger and was of different colors, making each color replanted the color of each of their partners, while the marks of their partners, despite remaining the same, were now a color that represented a place in the dragon mark, representing their union of love. Kunado Drake said that each one of them he saw there mark, and they could not help but be surprised at the excessive accession of Rossweiser and Penemu, who did not have it, and Ophis and Tiamat, who had already reviewed their marks. Each of the girls had the same mark, but it was no longer red but a color that represented a place on the back of their lover. It represented their love. All their partners surrounded the dragon and fought alongside him. No one knows what happened, if they died there or if they survived. However, the story was passed from dragon to dragon, where the brand obtained the name and eternal love that, unlike the normal mark of each dragon, this represents not only the union of love in body, but also the union of love in soul. Since the mark connects the souls through the love they have for each other, the more love there is, color is more vivid and making their love last even after death. Drake finished saying, where all the girls in Issei had their marks of their respective colors in a vivid tone. Luffy had it yellow, Ophis had it purple, Kuroka had it black, Yasaka had it a golden color, Tsubaki had it a light blue color, Irina had it an orange color, Elmenhild had it a blood red color, Ravel had it a color between red and yellow like fire, Seraphal had it in a light blue color, Aika had it a brown color, Gabriel had it white, Tiamat had it dark blue. Issei turned to see the girls who had their respective marks of a color that represented them. However, the brunette felt like someone was throwing him to the ground. He realized that it was Ophis and Tiamat who were crying, but they had a big smile on their faces. All my life I have been alone in silence, Ophis said, drawing the attention of everyone present. In everything I have lived I never thought I would fall in love. I didn't even think about someone falling in love with me, since the only thing that mattered to me was my silence. However, that moment when I approached you was simply so that you would help me get out of it. To the network of my home, I never thought that that same person was the one who would make me feel so happy, Ophis said calmly as she hugged the brunette tighter. I never thought that the person I want to use would totally change my mind and make me fall in love with him. I accepted you as my partner when I knew what love was, when I understood that feeling. Later I gave myself to you when I knew that you loved me, but mainly when I felt so loved by you, that with just a few words, a few caresses, even a kiss, you made me extremely happy and I could feel your love in each of your actions, Ophis said while touching the mark on her right leg that was of a beautiful abode totally alive. I never thought that that person who makes me so happy could even make me even happier than I already was. I love you, Issei, I love you with all my heart, was what the goddess said to give a kiss to the brunette, who as much as him how the others were surprised by those words. The kiss was calm, but it carried all the love that Ophis had for the brunette. When they separated he was greeted by another kiss, but this time it was from Tiamat. I don't know how, nor do I care, but I am extremely grateful to be with you. I am glad that the person I finally chose as my partner is really the only person to be able to form that brand. I knew that after so much time someone really he would love me just as I am, Tiamat said to kiss the brunette again, who was disconcerted by the dragon's words, and he was not the only one since the other girls were the same. From what you can see that they do not understand the reason for this behavior. However, it is the most normal thing, so I am going to explain it in simple words, Drake commented, drawing everyone's attention. Previously, the mark they had on my partner represented that they were his. It is a mark that represents that you will be with that person for a lifetime. The mark that they now have and the one my partner has represents that they will be with him even later, of death for all eternity, since the mark links the souls. That is something that has never happened since that time, Drake said, trying to explain. However, to obtain this mark, the love that my partner must have for each of you has to be equally, but mainly it has to be the deepest and most sincere love that you have ever experienced, Drake continued while the girls were shocked by those words. Although they knew that the brunette loved them and so much that he would give his life for each of them, they now had an idea of the love that their beloved feels for them. In other words, my partner now literally cannot live without you. his love for you is so great that it grows more every day, making it rooted in your souls for all eternity. Now if everyone was in shock, they didn't know what to do or what to say, even Gabriel, who is supposed to have the ability to love everyone clearly in a different way than she loves the brunette, but both she and the others didn't know what to do. At that moment they realized that their beloved brunette always loved them more every day, and although they loved him they knew that not at that level. The girls began to cry when they realized that fact. Some of them even thought about not deserving his love since they didn't it compared to the one he was given. Seraphal and Gabriel, who were two of those who had suffered the most from the loss of Issei, began to walk little by little until they took 3 steps and ran to where Issei was to hug him. I love you, Issei-chan, I love you with all my being. I don't care if one day you destroy hell or become an enemy of the world. I want you to know that I will always be there for you no matter what. I just ask you not to stop loving and allow me this time to really show you when I love you and when I can love you, Seraphal said, surprising everyone present with those words. However, when someone was going to say something they could see Seraphal's mark that he had on his back. It went down as it took on an even more vivid color. No matter what I spend, no matter how much time passes, no matter how much I spend, the only thing that matters is that from this very moment I will never be separated from you again. I will show you when I love you and I can love you even if that it took me an eternity. I'm going to prove it to you since I will always be by your side, no matter the circumstance or the problem, I will always be there by your side. Gabriel said, now surprising the others more since although they knew the love they had for Issei was very big, but no one ever thought to hear those selfish words from the angel who is supposed to represent love. However, even though those words sounded selfish, they didn't sound bad. In the same way that Seraphal saw how the mark on Gabriel's chest began to have a much brighter color than before, and without realizing that the white, light blue, dark blue and purple colors of the mark on Issei's back had a much brighter color than before and much more vivid than the others. 2 girls hugged the brunette tightly since they had realized Drake's words, and they felt very bad since they knew that his love was nothing compared to the one the brunette felt for them. Their hearts hurt knowing that neither the love he has for them cannot even reach him. After listening, Issei really felt happy to have people who love him and appreciate him so much. At that moment he felt really happy from the depths of his heart, something that now thanks to the brand they could notice immediately. Ophis, Tiamat, Seraphal and Gabriel hugged Issei even more so they could feel that same happiness that came from Issei and invaded them. Well, girls, what do you think if we go to have breakfast for now? The brunette said, trying to leave the topic for now, and later he will have time to investigate more adequately about that brand since he had a very busy day today. All the girls nodded and went to have breakfast, but not before giving their lover a kiss. However, 2 girls remained standing, leaving them alone in the place. They had seen everything that was happening and both had a slight pain in their breasts. Mainly for both of them I longed for that feeling that the others now share. Don't make those faces, you are too beautiful to have that expression, said a voice that came from behind them. They were both surprised and looked back only to meet the person who makes their hearts beat. Give me a smile, that smile that makes you look even more beautiful than you already are, said the brunette as he caressed both of their cheeks. The 2 girls were static as they lost themselves in the love and affection of the caress. Both girls opened their eyes to see how the brunette smiled at them with great love and price. Immediately, neither of them could take it anymore. Their hearts began to jump like crazy while a few tears began to fall down their cheeks. The brunette, upon seeing this, moves a little away from them, opens his arms and gives them his most sincere smile, making the 2 girls when they saw this couldn't take it anymore and went to hug the brunette while they cried to vent everything they had saved. One for everything that has happened and is happening with her husband, that even though she loves Issei, she feels it is not right to leave her lover for everything he has done for her, but even so, her heart is completely reluctant to leave him. The other, because of everything she had gone through and how the men treated her, the rape attempts when she was still young, how they hurt her, fear was what invaded her. She was afraid of that unknown feeling she had for the brunette, that when he is close nothing else matters. Because of everything she had been through she had never fallen in love and only played with men, but now she was in love, something that she flatly denied with all her strength and something that failed since her heart told her. He did not beg her to let him feel that love that both he and she want to feel. Now, calm down, I will always be here for you, said the brunette while he consoled both girls who hugged him more and more and was reluctant to let go of him more and more. For Issei's part, he didn't care. The only thing that matters to him is that both girls let go of everything they have kept in the depths of their hearts. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. See you in the next part.